Hello again, and welcome to the Master's Voice. I am Celestial, and you're welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you are very welcome. The Master's Voice is an audio and a visual resource that you can find on multiple streaming platforms, but that's about all I'm going to have to say about it today. I have a message from the Lord that I really have prayed that people will listen to and allow the full import of the message to come into them. I know that every time I come here, there's the risk that it might be a new person, and whenever new people come here, they obviously come with their own mindsets, they come with their own ideas, they come with their own belief systems. But unfortunately, you're going to find those things are not helpful for you here, because most of the things that are on this prophetic channel, this end times channel, they absolutely fly in the face of conventional wisdom. They fly in the face of what the average person in the United States has been told about the state of the world that they live in. It goes against what the average person in the United States believes as a conventional reality. Most of us here in this country, unless we come up against something that is going to disabuse us of our belief systems, most of us tend to believe either one way or another way. And that in turn is highly shaped by a person's background, a person's personal experiences, where you grew up, sometimes what part of the country you live in. And of course, we can't leave out your politics. Politics determines how people think. And what we're experiencing at this particular junction in time in the United States is that politics is more divided than ever. Politics is more divisive than ever. Politics are destroying American homes, destroying American relationships, destroying how Americans perceive the world around them. And because both sides, at least the major parties in the United States, the Republicans and the Democrats, because both sides are hell-bent on digging their feet in to defend the position that they're in, there's a whole lot of life in America that is flying over the heads of almost everyone. Now, God is not desirous that the people who call him Father, that is the people who are born again, the people who have made the confession that Jesus Christ is their Lord, is their Savior, God is not desirous of the church walking in darkness. God is also not desirous of the church wrapping herself in colors of blue or colors of red, because those colors are not the colors of heaven. Heaven has one color, and that is under the drapery and the covering of the blood of Jesus Christ. So if you're not interested in becoming a better Christian, if you're not interested in figuring out how to truly immerse yourself in the Word of God so that you can not only build a stronger relationship with Jesus Christ personally, but also so you can get stronger as a Christian, so that you can withstand these waves and these billows. I'm speaking of like a churning sea. If you're not interested in learning how to withstand the waves and the billows that are coming to this nation, then you're going to find yourself in a tough spot. So I had a dream this morning, and this dream has been on my mind so much. I'm making it now because I feel that the urgency of this dream is for the now. So regardless of if you're a new person and you're coming here with a lot of ideas, and you're coming here with a lot of, I know a bit of this and I know a bit of that, I'm going to have to ask you to pack everything that you know, zip it up tight in the bag that you brought it in, and set it to the side. Reason is, you've not come here so that you can think the way that you think. You can do that for free at your house. You're coming here so that God can talk to you about the world that God is going to allow in the United States and worldwide. The bag of tricks that you have are not going to be able to help you cope in the world that is coming. And so this dream is part of what I would call, it definitely is by now, a developing series here on the Master's Voice. Now, if you've been here a long time, this won't be new to you, but if you're new, it bears saying. The Lord has a way of coming into what I will just call a series arc. And when God comes into a series arc, what I start to notice is that I will keep seeing the same thing again and again and again and again and again. Many people, when they're not used to prophecy, they will say, but you've said this already. You've said this already. Why do you keep bringing the same prophecy? You have to understand that I will bring any prophecy that God gives me. If God gives me the same prophecy, the exact words, if he ever were to do this and give me the same prophecy 11 days in a row, 22 days in a row, the exact same series of words in the exact same sentence structure, I'm going to make 11 or 22 videos in a row consecutively saying the same thing. I'm going to put different pictures on it. They're all going to have different names, but every time you click it, it's going to be the same thing. And that is what being God honoring is. Being God honoring is receiving God's message in exactly the way he wants to express himself, how he says it, the way he says it, with the appropriate emphasis. If God brings a message that is strong and harsh, that message is not going to be delivered with temperance and peace so that the people don't feel overly shocked or overly scared or overly anything like that. I don't do that. I'm not going to hold back what God says. I'm not going to temper what God says. I'm doing my absolute best to capture everything that he says and deliver it in the spirit that it was given to me. And that is because the end result is for the people of the world, not only America, but the people of the world to get used to God's voice. This is what Israel was not used to. They lived in Egypt under captivity for 430 years. God became a distant story. He wasn't real to them anymore. The way that they viewed him was, well, if this God was so powerful and we're supposed to be his people, then where is he? Where is he? That's exactly what the people of God, who are known as Judah, this is his direct heritage people. That's exactly what Judah is doing in America today. You can hardly talk to Judah. I am Judah, but you can hardly talk to Judah without the vitriol of their pain and their anger coming out. Well, if God was so real, then where is he? He's right where he always is. He's sitting in his mighty, mighty, mighty throne, in his mighty, mighty heaven, perusing the entire earth. His eyes are on everything from a little fly to a little squirrel to ancient dinosaur bones to us. So to ask where is he is kind of odd. God is everywhere. He's all at once, and he never changes. So people not being used to the way that God works, it's always us who needs the adjustment. So when God is saying something, it has to come forward exactly the way he's saying it without holding anything back, because there's purpose in God's communication at all times. What God is communicating to us right now in America is that we are going to have, it's not just a horrible time of it. That's not quite the full way to capture it. We are going to have the worst time of it that we have ever had conceivably. And that is why I said at the beginning, it's very important for us who live here in the United States to pay attention, because what will happen is if you keep hearing the same thing over and over, your brain, your natural brain, naturally, your brain will start to tell you, we've heard this before, but you are at risk of missing the subtleties, the nuances in the conversation of God. You really are at risk of missing what he's trying to tell us. This particular series that I've noticed that we are in, that keeps talking about the overreach of the government. I've talked about government overreach here for a long time, for a very long time. It's one of the biggest themes here on the Master's Voice. Just simplified with this sentence: the government is going to take off its mask. And once the government of the United States takes off its mask, we, the people, are going to suffer, because we will no longer be confronting an American government. We will be confronting our very first taste of the beast government. And we've always been told here what the characteristics of the beast government would be. The beast government is not going to care about the laws of America. No one can expect the beast to operate by American laws, because the beast of Revelation 13, the beast system, is not an American system. It's a satanic, global, end times, one world system. It has no respect for the laws of any country. In order for the beast to fully manifest itself and fully function, it has to get rid of partisan laws. This is French laws. This is Ugandan laws. This is the laws of Fiji. This is the laws of Angola. This is the laws of Canada. The beast cannot function trying to pretend that it can operate within the Canadian interface, within the Mexican interface, within the American interface. That's not possible. In order for the beast to fully birth itself and follow the mandate that Daniel chapter 7, for instance, or Daniel chapter 2, verse 43 is talking about, or Revelation 18 or Revelation 17, in order for the beast to fully come into its own, the nation that it is birthing itself in must of necessity be crushed. This is something that at least Christians need to understand, because it's going to be a different story for the people out there. It's going to be a different story for Americans out there who don't know about me, who don't know that Jesus Christ has been sitting here for a lot of years telling us what is going to happen, that the laws are going to fall away, that the constitutional rights are going to fall away, that the civil rights, constitutional rights and civil rights, they intersect, but they're not exactly the same. There are people who have constitutional rights that never had to fight for civil rights. There are people who have, they've always had the right to bear arms. But then again, if you were somebody who didn't have civil rights, for instance, such as the Native American population, the African American population in this country, it wasn't even a question of if you could carry a gun, because you weren't a person until the Emancipation Proclamation came along. And so constitutional rights, civil rights, there is a very powerful intersect, but that doesn't mean they are the same. But the beast system is above everything that's in the Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law of the land, but the beast system is above that. The beast system has no respect for the Constitution of your country, South Africa. It doesn't care about the laws on the books. The beast system is operating by a totally different set of parameters, different set of rules. And so this conflict that we keep seeing in America, I told you about it years ago. I told you that America was going to fight for her life. But then I was also telling you that America is going to lose, because it's written in the Bible that the beast system is going to win. Then I find adults coming here and reasoning like toddlers, pretending to be Christians, but they're nothing but tares. Oh, you're always bringing bad news. Oh, is there anyone who wants to join me in praying for America? Why are you praying for a dead carcass? America was dead at the same time that the Bible was writing her fate. Her fate has been in Revelation 18 all along. What kind of power do you have that you're going to overturn Revelation 18? It's not possible for you to overturn Revelation 18, because Revelation 18 is the exalted word of God. And in Revelation 18, the harlot dies. In fact, her death is already at the bottom of Revelation 17, where it says the 10 kings who give their power to the beast for 1 hour will turn as one man. And they will what? They will destroy the harlot. America is the harlot. That means at some point, the entire world order, when the world is sliced up into 10 regions, they're all going to turn on her as one man. And she's going to be destroyed. She's going to be isolated. She's going to be ostracized. Which prayer is inside which American that is able to overturn these eternal things? These are prophecies that were written long before anybody was alive. So what we're watching now is we're watching America fight for her life, but America cannot retain that life. And if Christians don't understand this and start to operate by the parameters of what life will look like after America loses, you know what you're going to experience? You're going to experience a slow, agonizing march to the bottom, along with all the people who don't understand why the courts are not working. The courts are not working because you were told by prophecy that the courts will not work. You were told that the justices will be impotent against the beast government. The beast government doesn't care about the justices, that the court is going to be a toothless bulldog. You were told that Congress is going to become nothing but a rubber stamp. The senators will either go along, the House of Representatives will either go along so that they don't seem powerless, or they're just going to be overlooked. The executive was going to say, what? Say it with me. We had to get it done. We wanted to work with Congress on this, but it would have been a long, bulky, and extended process. We had to get it done. So the series that God is taking us into, as we're looking at constitutional abuses, civil rights abuses, this has been prophesied, but now we're looking ahead. And for me, this feels just like COVID. When we were in 2020 and 2021, the Lord would give me a message, and within 2 weeks, a month, 3 weeks, 2 months, the message would be fulfilled. Before the vaccine would come, he would tell me a vaccine is coming. It's going to do this to people, that to people, that to people, that to people. You prophesied in 2020. A few months later, they suddenly announce, we have a cure. It's a vaccine. Then everybody who watches the channel is like terrified. Then they start to give it, but by that time, we've already heard the symptoms. Then the symptoms start to pop up a few months after. Then it's like, oh my goodness, it's happening. That is what this new series feels like for me. We're talking about ICE. We're talking about the government. We're talking about the police. We're talking about the riot police. I've been talking about them incessantly. God calls them the wolves. You know the habits of wolves, that they move in packs, that they are very dangerous when they're moving in packs. You might have a chance with a lone wolf, but when you encounter wolves in packs, they're so predatory, they're so destructive, that kind of thing. So when you have God in heaven who has no natural predators, nobody can harm God. And he's saying things like the wolves are coming, the wolves are here. Escalate to military and paramilitary, and occupying force is here. God is not saying these things to give us the impression as if there are other outcomes that we can hope for and pray for. You are being given a very narrow corridor and window to help you navigate the times that are here and are rapidly on the way. If you don't listen, if you attempt to minimize what the Holy Spirit is saying, if you keep trying to find that caveat because the patriotic soul in you keeps telling you, but this can't be it. This is it. This is the time that I told you about in 2019 when you never saw my face and you just used to read prophecies. This is the day that I told you was always coming. There is no other day. This is not a dress rehearsal. And I'm speaking to citizens. I'm not speaking to the disenfranchised people in this nation. I'm talking to you that still thinks you can go and bring a case against ICE when something happens. When you hear what I'm about to talk about now and you think that there's some kind of lawsuit waiting in your future, when I already prophesied Kamala Harris and the Beast 1, Kamala Harris and the Beast 2, a new government for America. When you heard in the prophecies, a new government for America, emergency powers, you already heard that things will be done to you. The Patriot Act, that's another one, that things will happen to people in this country, God forbid, not you watching now, for which there will be no going to court, no fixing it. I even told you that when the times of diseases come, once somebody says they saw you sick, the government's not coming to check your temperature and find out if you're really sick. They're coming to your house with that truck. You're going to be put into that truck, either alone or with your entire family that will be presumed to be infected too, since they were with you in the house. All of you will get taken to a camp, and you will be kept there for as long as the government deems necessary to determine if you are well enough to be integrated into society or not. And I said that once you are in their custody, it is automatically assumed that they will have the right to inject you with anything that they deem necessary to make you well again. So if you're unpoked, that will be the place when they catch you, that they will give you the pokes. And I said, you can come outside later. You can bring all the lawsuits in the world that you want, but it will be too late. They would have done what they wanted to do with you. And I also said that if they catch you and they do something to you in lockup and you die, what did I say? The best your family can do is try to get some after money, but it's not bringing you back. It's essential for us to listen. So I was just now seeking the Lord for what the title of this message would be. And instead, he was just telling me that, you know, there's no turning back. This time period for America, he said that America is in decline and that America is heading directly into the beast system, and that absolutely nothing can turn it back. Because, of course, if you are a student of the Bible and if you've read the prophecy books, you know, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, that kind of thing, Isaiah, then you know that when the prophet of the Lord brings a word, That word is not because the person feels like talking. That word is not because the person feels like just getting into the town square and saying, oh, thus says the Lord, ABC. Once you see a prophet of the Lord speaking, that is because God is actively engaged in conversation with the whole earth. America may be the one to undergo this change, but the whole earth is going to be watching her. The whole earth is going to be watching her undergoing their own changes. But America is a central figure in the end time because America is the one that has raised herself up to becoming a primordial enemy of the Lord. America has angered God so much by her sins, by her hard-heartedness, by the words that come out of the mouths of 350 million people every day and have done for years and years and years and years, even before this time period of prophesying the word of the Lord began. And so there are things that are set. There are things that are in motion that absolutely no one is going to be able to turn back. And so when I asked the Lord, Father, what do you want to call this prophecy? And I was just going over it, trying to see which aspect of this prophecy is the leading aspect that would lend a name. The Lord said that the name of this prophecy is the beast system is in effect, part 2. I just brought a part 1, even though I didn't know it was a part 1. I just thought that was the name of the prophecy. But this one is called the beast system is in effect, part 2, observing a nation's decline into tyranny. So this prophecy captures many aspects of things that I was talking about in 2020 when I was talking about how America would become slowly a lawless nation. And I mentioned that when America starts to become lawless, the people that you will first start to see responding, for instance, are her educated class. This is all the people who went to college to do the liberal arts degree, to do the political science degree, to do the law degrees, to do the economics degrees. I said that when the nation began to change, the first people who were aware of it are the people who understand the bedrock of how America operates. America has many sins and crimes to her name. She does lie about everything. But when it comes to the functionality of this country's democracy, the tenets, that means the pillars, okay, the tent poles that are holding up the democracy of the United States are very strong. This is not to say that there's not corruption going on in the background. There is horrible backdoor acting and backdoor access and a whole different government sector operating in the wings, in the darkness behind the scenes of America. But the democratic pillars that interface with the public, the knobs that the public gets to turn. I'm going to write to my senator. I'm going to go to the town hall. I'm going to go to the election booth. I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm going to talk about the school board, the school district, this and that and that. They're very strong. But what happens when those things begin to shift? I said that alarm bells will start to go off, and it is the educated class, it is the educated elite who will first see that. America's educated elite are leaving the country. You that sit here and watch me, you that have just come and you're still trying to vet me and I don't know, I'm checking her out. While you're checking me out, people who have more degrees than you will ever earn in your life are getting on planes and they're moving to other parts of the world where the government is not actively losing its mind on camera. So those people are already gone. Exactly as I said. Even in 2022, when the Lord started pushing that you will need to get a passport, you will need to relocate, you will need to come out of Babylon, you will need to go to a safer place. What did I say? I said that the people who have education and money will be the first wave. And this was, if 2022 is 23, 25, okay, so it's 3 years ago then. It's 2023 has passed, 2024 has passed, and now 2025 is over. So 3 years ago, I was telling you, you will see the first wave are the people with money, education options, the people with stocks. I said they're going to be the ones who will read the air. They will see the first signs of the danger of the coming new system, and they will liquidate stocks, call their money market person, transfer the bulk of their wealth away from this heavily taxed system anyway. And then they will pack up their kids and leave. So the people who know better are leaving. And what did I also say? I said the people who have the least money, the least options, will find themselves the ones facing the sharp pointed wickedness of a government that is going to stop pretending to be democratic. That's not all the American government is going to stop pretending to do. The American government is going to stop pretending to be sane. You can use the word madman all you want. You can use the word tyrant all you want. I have already told you that Donald Trump is the opening bell. You know, when you go to the stock market and the opening bell, ding, ding, goes off to signal that this is the beginning of trades. Do you think that the trades you do from 8 to 9 in the morning are the only trades you do in a day? When the opening bell goes off, do you only trade from 8 to 8:30 and then you hear the bell again, ding, ding, signaling that it's the end of the trading day? No. When that bell opens at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't know when the markets open, but whenever they open, there's a long stretch called the working day before the bell goes off to signal this is the close of the trading day. This man is the beginning bell. He is only the start of the race. I have so many things to say because the Lord was talking to me today. I was writing for hours, listening for hours, seeing things for hours. And this is in addition to the sleep and the things that I saw. The president is just the start of the horrible rainbow arc that is going to take America to plummeting, okay, journey to the center of the earth. America's going to sink out of sight until when the other nations are looking for her on the map of this is a normal country, this is a sane country, this is a place that I can safely as a French person send my daughter to Harvard if that's where she wants. I can safely as an Australian, okay, send my daughter to the United States to study medicine. There's going to be nothing like that. We are going to become the people who are lost in time. North Korea will be studying us in class in 2 more summers. 2 more summers. North Korea, we will be a topic of study in North Korea. And they will be saying, ah, yes, the people who said it could never happen to them. The beast system is in effect observing a nation's decline into tyranny. Opening bell is Donald Trump. So if you are a liberal here walking around talking about, oh, we need revolution. Oh, when is he going to die? When he dies, you will hate what comes next. That is the title of one of my prophecies. You will hate what comes next. What comes next after him is worse. And what comes next after that is even worse. So go ahead and keep wishing for them to die. They shall be replaced by things you will hate even more. You think you can't hate this man more? No. You have deeper capabilities when you see what will happen. So the date is, just a moment, please. The date for this prophecy is November the 8th, 2025. And the title is The Beast System is in Effect, Part 2, Observing a Nation's Decline into Tyranny. And so I've been having, for the few days that I've been away, I've been having constantly surging dreams. Surging dreams there are so many things going on in the dream that sometimes you can forget everything. It's exactly as if someone took you out to the sea, out to the part of the sea that makes white caps, where the water is so big that there's no hope of you even seeing the bottom or touching the bottom, and then just threw you out the boat and left you there in the current, in the surge, and it just tosses you about all night. That is the kind of dreams that I had. I had those dreams, that kind of dream, December the 6th, I think. No, not this. What am I talking about? November the 6th, November the 7th, November the 8th. So these dreams I'm recounting to you are from Saturday, November the 8th. And they're the same kinds of dreams that I've been having for a while. A lot was going on and I just wrote it down here. So I'm going to be reading taking you through what I dreamt, how God was explaining it to me, what I saw, what the implications are. Some parts of it I didn't write down, but that's because those parts are so vivid. There's absolutely no reason for me to write them down. I can recount them to you clear from memory, and I can give you a spoiler alert. One of the things that Americans are going to see for the first time in their life is that you can be mugshotted and you can be booked naked. You can be mugshotted. You can get your mugshot taken in America in this new system. I won't say that it's coming. The system is here. It is possible for you, if you mess around and find out, you will get your mugshot taken as a woman and your breasts will be in the mugshot. You will get your mugshot taken as a man and your genitals will be on the mugshot. Not only that, international news will carry American nudity. They will carry your genitals as a man on the evening news in India. And depending on how India is feeling that day, they might blur it out or they might simply leave it exposed. Because one of the things that is going to happen is that the international community is going to have a field day with the savagery of America. We in the United States are going to be portrayed as little more than wild animals. I'm sure as Americans you're familiar with this because almost every single African country that ever had a war, the only way it was reported is that look at these savage wild black beasts destroying themselves, destroying one another. That is what they do. That is all they are capable of. That exact type of coverage without mercy. The way it was never toned down here by CNN, especially because CNN was definitely leading the charge with the news back in the day. The way it was never toned down. The way it was never blurred out. The way war footage was just splashed everywhere, shown everywhere, with the kind of reporting that, BBC especially leading the charge. Such savagery, such evil, such darkness. This is not even human. That's exactly what's going to happen, and international news is going to be afforded the opportunity to see Americans' frontal nakedness. It's going to be on the news. Now here we love to lie. We blur everything out. But foreign correspondents are going to see it. Foreign correspondents are going to capture it. And this kind of thing is going to be aired internationally. So let us begin. I dreamt of so much political violence and upheaval in the United States that it is even now still hard to properly express or state from what point it came or how it will exactly start or present itself when it arrives. The current protests that we are seeing and the public outcry that we're having right now against so many aspects of the United States government overreach, against so many aspects of how the United States government is choosing to express itself, choosing to express its properly elected power, and choosing to interact with its own people is nothing in comparison to what is coming. This that we are so upset about, this that we are so outraged about, is not by any stretch of the imagination able to be compared with where we are going in the future. When it comes to what people mean when they say there is government control and repression in our country, it simply cannot be conceived by the average American right now where we are going to end up. And the reason for this is because right now, I stated in my last video that the average American hasn't seen anything yet. But the way the blogs, the podcasts, the alternative news, even the mainstream news is going off, you would think that we were at a 10 billion on the Richter scale in terms of human rights abuses. You would think that heads were rolling in the streets. Just because ICE is wearing masks, that's illegal. Because ICE won't identify themselves, that's illegal. Because ICE is literally, this is not an exaggeration, kidnapping people off of the street for nothing more than the fact that they have an accent, or they can't remember their social security number quick enough, or the color of their skin. Either they're a black person or Hispanic people. Nothing more than that is a prompt for ICE. That's heavily illegal. These things, as well as the fact that the president is refusing to account for some funds here and there, as well as the fact that the government has decided to shut down. We're now in the middle of the longest government shutdown in American history, as well as the government refuses to uphold its duty according to the social contract to look after the people that it's mandated to look after, and is actually wielding power in a punitive manner against the United States citizens, while at the same time indulging in open excess in the face of the citizens, hosting galas and balls and parties and things like that, private symposiums and things like that, while at the same time failing to maintain its duty towards the citizens. That is still nothing but to look at the way that people are responding to this. And it's all illegal, so they have every right to respond. But people are responding at 1,000. But God was communicating to me through this dream that the government hasn't even hit 100. The government has not even hit 100 in what it is capable of doing. And more than capable, what it fully plans to do. One of the Trump sons, I think it's Eric Trump, just tweeted 24 hours ago that to any who don't fall in line with government tariffs and things like that, we haven't even got started yet with the things that we plan to do. And a lot of people were concerned about that. What does that mean? Who is he talking to? Is he talking to foreign countries? Because they are the ones that tariffs are being leveraged against. But then is he talking to us here at home? Because ultimately, we're the ones who pay the tariff costs. When tariffs are leveraged against other countries, they suffer because it makes the market smaller for them. But we suffer because the price for everything goes up. The price becomes compounded. The shipping price plus the tariff price plus the price of the item means that we're paying a hugely inflated price for things that used to come in freely before. So I was saying the current protest, the public outcry, these things cannot compare to what the government has in store, as God was showing. The government has things lined up for the future of America that sane, everyday, ordinary people simply cannot agree to. They simply cannot and will not be able to agree to the things that the government is going to start doing, start demanding, start mandating, and start saying is absolutely necessary. People simply cannot and simply cannot be in a sane society expected to agree to that and still call themselves people of this and this state, people of this and this nation. But I saw that the government indeed has such plans and such capabilities, and these things are going to be seen on the world news very soon. So in my first dream, I dreamt that people were protesting in America to the point that it seemed as if the country was going to burn. America was so inflamed. Literally, the smallest tinder spark, I promise you, would have had the Confederate and the Union Army running around this nation as if we were back in whatever, 02 or 17 or what. It was so bad. I've never seen people that incensed. I've never seen people that angry. I've never seen people that fueled with rage, but undercutting the rage was powerful desperation, because at that point, it had become quite evident what type of time this government was on. And the American people were not protesting just for their right to protest. These protests were nothing like the No Kings protests, which were so well organized. They had organizers, and everybody was always so proud at the end of the protest, like, look, this many million came out. I think 4 million people came out for the first No Kings in June. I think June, the month of June was the president's birthday. I'm not sure. It could have been July. And then again, the latest No Kings brought out a record 7 million Americans out of their homes. And one of the things the organizers were so proud of was, look at the coordination of such an effort It took a lot of time. It took a lot of promotion. It took a lot of marketing. It took a lot of strong social media presence and reinforcing the message that we're coming out to say that we don't want any kind of person who's taking so much law unto himself as if he's a king. We're constitutional democracy. We're a republic. We have laws in place. No one is a king. No one has the right to make demands. No one has the right to overlook the courts. No one has the right to overlook the Constitution. No one has the right to overlook Congress. You have to stay within the lanes of power that the rule of law gives you. No kings, no kings. This is the idea behind no kings. It was organized. It had organizers, and it went according to plan. What I was seeing was not going according to any plan. First of all, there weren't any planners for it. It was generic. It had no organizers. And the edge of rage, the edge of rage tinged with desperation was very, very clear. And when I woke up from this dream, I was thinking about a prophecy that I brought, I think, in 2020. And it was showing Donald Trump, and it was showing a future America behind him as he sat at his desk. And the country was basically burning. The country was full of upheaval. The country was full of protests. The country was full of looting. The country was basically showing signs of war, because I said that as I saw him sitting at his desk, nuclear missiles were entering American airspace and they were bombing buildings. First time, second time, third time, fourth time. I said I saw nukes coming in, and what I was seeing is that whoever nuked America wasn't satisfied and nuked her again and nuked her again. It's like they were sending in 2 and 3 and 4 missiles at the same time to really make sure that they were doing a solid job. And all these things I saw in his first presidency before he ever stepped down. So I dreamt that people in America were protesting to the point that it seemed as if the nation was going to burn. I didn't know that Americans had fury like that, to leave the house and to be on the streets protesting with such a loud voice for human rights and civil rights. I didn't know that the people of this nation could take their freedom so seriously that it could ever move them into the kind of violent protests that we have seen taking place in other parts of the world. So in other parts of the world, protest has moved from the online chat room into student outbreaks, usually Gen Z outbreaks, like in Kenya, like in Nepal, until it actually came to the point of sometimes toppling governments. Kenya didn't topple its government. Nepal definitely toppled their government. I just gave the name of the country. Madagascar toppled their government. So sometimes these grassroots movements have shed blood. The government has been sent out to confront the people. Blood has been shed, but the people have been so immovable that eventually their way has triumphed over the sitting government. And either in Kenya's case, the government was forced to step back, at least momentarily. They're currently doing backlash now, because that was the prophecy God gave them in 2024, that the government, for that thing that you did, the government is going to heavily backlash. But in other countries, the movement was successful. And those movements, for instance, in Madagascar, in Nepal, they weren't organized by anyone. People just hit the streets. Young people hit the streets. And then there was this momentum that kept going and going and going until eventually there was organic regime change by the people in their own country. So I said that really looking at these dreams, I didn't know that Americans had it in them to spill over into this similar type of violent protest. But something had happened in America. Something had taken place here whereby the people of America simply could not take it anymore. And they came out en masse. Just imagine as if a water gate breaks, a dam is opened, and the water just comes surging out like a foaming sea head. People came out full force. This was no planned protests with organizers liaising, via interlink with CNN, answering cute questions like they've been doing so far. We're standing here this morning with Mark, who's one of the organizers of the So-and-So protest that's going to be taking place on Hollywood Boulevard today. Mark, good morning. How are you? And Mark is like, it's an honor to be here. It's just so great to find such a powerful agency like, CNN News Network interested in this movement for the American people that we're doing today. And so, Mark, how long have you been planning this? And what kind of turnout do you hope to see today? No, it wasn't like that. This protesting that I dreamt of was generic and organic. Generic means not subscribing to a particular brand. When you have something like Benadryl, that's a brand name type of cough medication. When you have Vicks cough medicine, that's a brand name. But when you just have something that's just generic, it's usually cheaper. But if the manufacturer is good, it will match the same as the brand names. Generic here means this protest didn't belong to anybody. You couldn't call it Antifa. You couldn't call it Black Lives Matter. You couldn't call it this or that, no kings, nothing, because it was grassroots. It just literally sprang up because the people saw that there was a need for it. It was generic and it was organic in that it didn't have any organizers or owners like the previous protests. It just started by itself and it grew in solidarity until it became a movement for American freedom. The way that I saw people flooding the streets, the kinds of things that they were saying and doing, there's no way that any organizer could control that anyway. I saw real anger, real fury, people throwing rocks at the most expensive of property, people with their face covered just like ice, throwing even those little small bottles that have gas in them. Other people would say that have petrol, that have fuel, that have gas in them that will catch fire. Molotov cocktails, homemade Molotov cocktails, basically Coke bottle, beer bottle, a little gas in there with a sock stuck in it, and you light it up with a lighter, throw it at the ICE vehicle, throw it at the front glass of some kind of Louis Vuitton. I mean, people were so enraged. That's where this protest got to. That besides the riots in LA in the middle of the year, no other protests, whether it's in Portland, whether it's been here in New York City, where it's been anywhere else, no other protest has reached that level. From what I saw, people in the streets were there for their survival and their right to continue as the American people. And that is why these protests in my dream were so widespread and so scary. And they could not be tied to any one organizer or event or movement. So people were on a different wavelength. When you see people protesting and every person is so angry from their soul that the way God is depicting them in the dream, it's literally like a documentary where it's almost like God is filming from below and you can see a person like this and they're screaming. Spit is coming out. We're talking about men, women, children, elders, youth. This is younger people, maybe 17, 16. We're talking about college students, early 20s. America was outside. The rage, the fury, I mean, fists in the air. People were protesting basically for their right for this country to continue. People came out to fight for America to live. So, since yesterday, this is speaking now. I'm writing afternoon of the 8th, but I'm writing of the dreams that I also had the night before. Since yesterday, this is November 7th, I've dreamed of people fighting in America. I've dreamed of people fighting the police, fighting the riot police, fighting ICE in particular, and even the arms of government themselves through any means that was available to them. So same jumbled dreams up and down, just different locations. I'm just looking at fires burning in America. I'm looking at people destroying property in America. I'm looking at people arguing, surging back and forth with ICE, trying to drive them away. But today, in the jumble of dreams, because I kept waking up, I would wake up and I would think, what is going on? What is happening? But you're sleepy. You go back to sleep. So the jumble of dreams that I was having today, one of the dreams that I saw is how the different aspects of people in America, we have different strata of people. Everybody's got a different job. Some people are working in fast food industry. Some people are working in retail. Some people are working in drop shipping. They're at their house on the headsets all day. How can I get this item to you? Trust me, it's a great item. And then they just order the thing from China. They put a little markup on it, and then then the Chinese people will ship it direct to your house. So this guy doesn't actually have to leave his house. Then we have people who are working in pastry shops. We have people who are building small businesses. We have people who are teaching English to foreign students. We have people getting degrees. We have people in the Supreme Court being corrupt. We have people all through the country in different strata. What I was seeing in one of these dreams is how the attorneys in America were fighting back. I saw the American attorneys really trying to do their part. One of the images that I saw this white guy with a very, when a man is so stressed that his jaw has been in one position for a while, and he doesn't know that he's starting to have a clench muscle in one of his jawlines. A man under so much stress, a man working against the clock. He was working on something, and I saw him in a gray suit. And he was almost jog stepping up the steps of the court. He had two assistants with him, a woman and his co-attorney, also a woman, a very tall white lady who was wearing also a gray skirt suit with a serious face to match his and a pace to match his. And all four of them, the three ladies and this man, were rushing to court to meet the deadline to file something against the U.S. government or to block something that the U.S. government was trying to do. I saw a lot of commotion happening at the legal level as the legal eagles of America try to put their minds together and coordinate some type of counterattack against the egregious oversteps and overreach that they perceived the government was doing. There was something about these attorneys where they were realizing the courts aren't going to save us and Congress isn't going to save us. If we don't make an attempt to save us, the American people, we're not going to be able to do anything once this train gets too far out of the station. And so I saw a lot of people in this country with know-how going back and forth to file a motion for this or a petition for that to stop the government that was operating in their state from doing something outrageous to us as a whole. I've also saw business people, another aspect of my sleep, I saw business people discussing what could be done on their end, and how they were choosing to mobilize is through brand campaigns. Now, you've noticed, or you may not be aware, that a lot of the brands in America, the big brands, have gone tone deaf. A lot of the big brands have chosen to march to the tune that the White House is marching. However, the White House is marching to open white supremacy. So a lot of the big brands in America are starting to lose large sectors of the market because, for instance, I think American Eagle has done this. And one other big brand has done this, where they've started to put out brands that are very openly eugenics based. If you don't know what eugenics is a pseudoscience based on absolutely nothing that has its footing in reality, that believes that one race, and it's usually always the white race, is superior to all other races on Earth. So eugenics basically states that one race is superior to all other races, and that only the traits of that race are desirable. Only the traits of that race's culture, that race's belief systems, that race's language is preferable to every other type of diversity that Jesus Christ in his wisdom has placed upon this vast earth. That is the general mindset of eugenics. But then to really show you that eugenics is not just a few people sitting around and saying, you know, we're white and we're right, we're white and we're best. And if only this world could be like us, then eugenics would just be a toothless bulldog, because basically it would just be like a white bingo night where people just get together and they have their preferences, and no matter what their preferences are, even if the preferences are tilted, unhealthy and racist, they're not doing anything. But eugenics is usually the mindset held by very powerful people who have means to materialize eugenics in everyday life. So then this is, for instance, where you have a hospital like a NICU, you know, like a newborn ICU unit, and then you have a woman in there who has a eugenics mindset. Then what you will do is, if she's the coordinator or if she's the chief on-floor nurse, you start to find the babies of other colors in that nursery, in that newborn ICU where all the babies are born and all the babies are like on the edge and they need help. You start to find Hispanic baby, Black baby, Asian baby dying in that ward at a much higher rate than the white babies. And that is because someone is working behind the scenes to actualize the eugenics mindset that we don't need these Black babies. We don't need these Hispanic babies. We've already got too many Asians in the world. We don't need these Asian babies. And then somebody begins to tamper with the baby's incubator temperature. Somebody begins to tamper with the baby's medication. Somebody begins to tamper with the baby's breathing lines or blood lines, things like that. And then you begin to see disproportionate deaths in those areas. Same thing when you have a eugenicist working in the prisons. You will start to find mishaps happening a lot to the Black prisoners that don't happen to the white prisoners, because even if people are incarcerated, whereby everybody is a prisoner, everybody's convicted of something, nobody is free. When you have a eugenicist in power, he will start to reduce the rations of the Black patients. He will start to make sure that when the Black patients go into the infirmary, they don't come out. They're given fatal doses by nurses that share his mindset. And so having these types of people sprinkled in society is incredibly harmful and dangerous. And this is the kind of mindset that the Nazi regime in Germany had. Eugenicists are basically exterminators, but they will never exterminate whom they believe are superior. And eugenicists always believe that the tree that they stem from is the only tree that God really meant to have on earth. And so they will devote their life, devote their time, devote their resources, devote their extensive pocketbooks to different policies that cut other people out of this world. And so I saw businesses that were not the big businesses, because the big businesses have fallen in line with corporate policy, government policy, the elimination of DEI, let them eat cake and things like that. And so the big businesses have by and large become very tone deaf. The big businesses are starting to come out of sync with the American people, and the American people have launched multiple campaigns the whole of 2025 to show brands like Target, to show brands like Walmart, to show brands like Amazon that you don't get to take our money, our so-called inferior human being money, while still practicing policies and practicing campaigns and practicing hiring practices that basically effectively X us out. So the big brands also, because they tend to favor eugenicists or white supremacy, is only one of the flows of the White House. Another of the flows of the White House is that the richer you are, the more acceptable you are. So the poverty of the people is something that this administration is openly mocking, is openly showing that it's not interested in. And so big brands are starting to laugh at the American people. For instance, at this time, Sephora has put out a tone deaf ad with people laughing and saying, you know, you can't cancel Christmas. They've used the celebrity, Mariah Carey, because people are saying, without us getting our SNAP benefits and everything like that, let's show these brands by stepping aside from spending. Let's show these brands by keeping our dollars and things like that. And then Sephora not reading the room. Sephora is a very big makeup brand here. To those of you outside the country who may not know, it's the ultimate, if not it's either penultimate as in second biggest, Ulta might be first, or it's the biggest and Ulta might be second, brand where women just go into a one-stop shop to get all the different types of makeup, perfumes, skin needs. And so at a time where people don't know how they're going to feed their children, at a time where people are saying, you know what, I can show my solidarity with the American people by withholding overspending during our two biggest holidays of the year, then the brand comes out and begins to mock people who already are having employment issues, food issues, dollar issue, car payment issue, rent issue, savings issues, that kind of thing, and say, well, Christmas is bigger than your problems. It doesn't matter if you have issues, you still have to spend. These big brands are not connecting with the American people. But what I saw in my dream is that I saw God showing me businesses looking for ways to show their solidarity with what is going on in America. They were working on putting out statements, brand statements. They were working on putting out especially campaigns. They were brainstorming with the arts departments, with the marketing departments. How can we come out with statements that show America strong? America, we stand with you. We are not with this administration. We are not with the tone deaf application of policy that the administration is doing. We see what the government is doing. We are not a part of that. They were trying to come up with campaigns, awareness campaigns, mobilizing through brand influence, and also outreaches, actually getting out into the communities as the brands to see, are you guys in need of sneakers or something? We have sneakers. I guess we can just try and bless a few people, children in need, whatever they could do. I saw them sitting to come up with ways to show that they as brands understand that America is not the type of country to take a dictator lying down. Then I saw soup kitchens. So I saw what I thought was a soup kitchen. I saw soup kitchens mobilizing for food, and people were handing out flyers concerning this thing that had happened to make sure that everybody knew it was wrong. So I saw outreach where people were handing out flyers and trying to give awareness to tell people. And I saw soup kitchens and other food places mobilizing food for those who didn't have it, trying to do outreach, trying to fill in the gap. And then in my dream, the Lord focused on this one soup kitchen lady that was briefing her staff on what to do if the police showed up and wanted to waste the food or drive them away. If you don't live in America and if you don't know what's going on, a lot of the states, okay, orders are coming down from the top. They're not coming just down from the mayors or the governors of different states. They're coming down from the top, from the federal government, in very pinpointed and wicked ways against the homeless. I've spoken about this some years back where I was saying that the homeless are being driven on and driven on and driven on so badly that I said that when the time comes for us to really start suffering in this country, something called the homeless army, these people that have been driven to the streets, they're not getting any help. The various arms of government, especially, instead of reaching out to these people in functional ways that can help them, what they do is they start reaching out to them with drugs and saying, oh, if you're on meth, here's a meth substitute, and here's some needles, and here's some cloth, and there's something that you're supposed to inject yourself with if you overdose or something like that, or your family member is supposed to inject you with it. I don't know what it's called. And this thing triggered me to so much outrage during the Biden years, because this was one of the Biden era policies. Well, if you're high, you have to get high safely. And I was saying, what a useless way to treat these people. And if these people keep being mishandled, these people are going to be incredibly dangerous. These people are going to be filled with 2002 demons each, and they are going to be extremely harmful to the population at large. So I saw this one lady and she was briefing her staff, because what started to happen is that the cops will come up to a woman who just has a cart, who's just selling hot tacos. Okay? Mexican lady. She's here in the country. We don't know if she came in during the Biden years or whatever, but she's standing at the train station. She's trying to sell hot tacos in winter. She's trying to sell cold cups. They have these mangoes. She will cut up the mango. That's an incredible amount of work. Okay. If that lady has 50 to 60 plastic cups that are sealed of cold mango, that means that she has worked an entire day or an entire evening, at least 6 to 7 hours, peeling mangoes by herself, or maybe with a daughter who we don't know what she's working with, but she definitely doesn't have bougie, rich people company staff, to make herself 50 or 60 cups of mango that she will then sell for $5 a cup or something like that, to cover her cost of the plastic thing and everything. And then she puts it into a big cooler that you can push. So you can push it, and then she just walks through the city with a little flag in Spanish, and then people can read the flag and know, oh, it's cold mango, or oh, it's cold apples, cold tangerine, whatever. And then you just pick one up. New York City police will see these people and come to them and take all those things and uncap each one and put that mango in the trash. I saw one where two officers were holding the lady against the wall on TikTok as another one was opening everything and putting it in the trash. Because, of course, it's the dangerous criminals that they're running after, exactly as the administration said. The worst of the worst. To verbatim quote the campaign promises. The mango lady is the head of Tren de Aragua. And the reason she's selling the mango is because every time she sells a cup of mango, what she's really doing is telling the cartels, as I sell this mango, I'm sending you intel on how America works so we can overthrow America with the drug trade. That's what that lady is obviously doing with the cup of mangoes before she goes back to her house in Hollywood Hills to count her pile of $5 is. And they throw away this money. They throw away the food. They come to where they're feeding the homeless, and they will take pots of food. I've seen them doing it to Jamaicans who are trying to give the homeless food in the parks. They will come and take all that oxtail. They will come and take all that hot food and throw it into the city trash bins as people complain. And as the people say, it will only take 15 more minutes to finish dishing this food. There are 50 hungry people in this line. Let us feed the people. White police officers almost always will say, no, you either move it along or everybody gets a citation. Everybody's going to jail, and they start taking the food and throwing it into the trash. Everybody's throwing the food into the trash. You see homeless people standing there. If you've seen homeless people, you know what I'm talking about. Watching something that they need going into the garbage can. This is where we live. So I saw the soup kitchen lady, and she was briefing her staff on what to do if the cops came and started trying to do that. She said, we just have to go through with it, and we have to keep serving. And if they try to arrest us, then they arrest us. But we keep serving and putting these meals in the hands of the people that need them. The thing is that as I'm watching the camera pan, I'm starting to notice that this cannot be a real soup kitchen because the kitchen is so upgraded. And it turns out that it's a nice fancy restaurant that had closed for the day to its usual clientele. And everyone this lady was talking to was wearing chef's whites. Now, you know, that's only certain restaurants where everybody will be wearing chef's whites, kitchen staff whites, chef hats. The woman included was a head chef. So I was seeing some rich restaurant that wanted to help the American cause by feeding the people protesting, or at least feeding some community that wasn't getting food. Yet this woman had also heard about government harassment surrounding food, service of food, all the so-called proper, I don't know what it's called. The word leaves me, but there's so many proper things that you have to do before you can set up and try to feed the homeless. And even then they want to harass you. So she was trying to get her upmarket staff ready for their version of the revolution and telling them they might come. They probably will come, but persevere. Don't pay attention to them. Don't fix your eyes on them unless you'll get afraid. Just keep dishing the next meal and trying to get it into the next hand. And if they arrest us, then they arrest us. But until they actually grab hold of us, keep dishing the food. Some of them looked nervous listening to her talking about that, but I didn't see anyone say, no, I didn't want to do that. Nobody said that. And so they all were leaning around, listening to her instructions, and then they got busy making the food. Another thing that I saw in my dreams is that I saw small crowds that were gathering. In this one, I was kind of like in a car, and the car was just driving me around what looked to me like New York City. So the car would just drive down the street and I would see a protest there. And then one of the protests that struck out to me was I was seeing small crowds in front of big buildings where maybe there's a major brand in that building and people are protesting out of that building to shame that brand. Like, how come you're not saying anything? You have $10 trillion on the balance sheet and there you are sitting and America is burning and you can't put out a statement and you can't stand with the people. Sometimes they were outside of banks or wherever something of power, some kind of organization of power was. So I saw this one protest and there was this red-headed man who was wearing these little duck-billed hats. He was all in denim. He had a denim jacket and jeans, and his jacket was just full of these war pins that people used to, people used to have a lot of, I think they call it flair, these big buttons. People wear big buttons like "Stop the War" and "More power to the people." I saw this red-headed man with a bullhorn, and he was reading from a paper expressing what the people in the building that they were protesting should be doing. And there were about 40 people with him holding up protest signs in front of the building and marching and holding up their signs. And this man was reading some kind of paper or manifesto, what the responsibility of whatever powerful business or powerful brand or position of power was doing inside that building. And he was reading them what they ought to be doing to stand up for the American people. And he was telling them, you should be doing this instead of sitting around while the president takes this much power for himself. So these were the dreams that I was coming in and out of, seeing different dreams. Sometimes they flow together, or sometimes I wake up, then I go back to sleep and I dream another thing. But this main protest that I spoke about at the beginning, I don't know where that protest came from. I don't know where that protest started, what city, what state. But I know that it came because of something that happened in the United States that spread like wildfire across the entire United States. And this protest was different from all the other ones that we've seen because the fierceness of the resistance was brought on directly by a desperation not to be broken as a nation. People did not want it to be defeated by their own government, but though they fought, and they really did, the people got so loud, aggressive, and even violent in this particular protest. But the police, the riot police, and other military forces prevailed because of the types of orders that they had been given. The order that these people had been given was a no-holds-barred response of public violence of the kind that we only see in the movies. Now, I always talk about this movie series that I've never actually watched called The Purge, Anarchy, where, as I understand it, the franchise is something like, what if there was no law for a day? I don't know if it's a day or 1 week, but let's just imagine, what if there was no law for a day? What would happen if the police, the fire department, the emergency services, 911, what would happen if for 24 hours, all those things went dark and you could do whatever you wanted to do and the cops wouldn't come? And there would be no repercussions for what you did on Purge Anarchy Day. So if you went over to that neighbor you were always fighting with at midnight where Purge Anarchy starts, and you wait for him to come home, and he comes home from a bar or something at 1 a.m., and you literally jump on that man and cut him up with an axe during the 24-hour purge. The next day, even if they found that man with your axe next to him with your fingerprints on it, you would be completely free of all prosecution and all guilt by association of any crime because you did the crime on Purge Anarchy Day. I saw in the dreams that the orders that ICE, the police, the riot police, the actual soldiers, and any other type of military assisting forces in the United States, I saw that the orders they had been given was don't hold back. How far can we go, Captain? To death and beyond. That's the kind of orders they had been given. And you've heard me continuously saying this to you, because non-citizens always sprint away from the ICE, from the cops, everything else. So it's always the citizens so far that are doing shame on you with the phones and jumping in and everything like that. But I've been telling you here that these people have been told that if they kill you, it's okay. It's part of the cause. And I've been seeing brainless people coming here. For you have to be brainless to express the sentiments of, this is what I voted for. You're an absolute liar. Either that, or you have been in a cave all your life and they only let you out to go and vote. You don't have any history background in you. You never went to school. You don't know what a civics lesson is, and you've never taken social studies. Because if you did go to school and you do have a history background and you can read, and you have seen the Constitution, or at least heard that it exists, you've studied social studies and you know what civics are, then you know that in your right mind, there is no way you went into an election booth to vote for a paramilitary force to be running around this country with socks on its faces, untraceable, unidentified, unstoppable, kidnapping people off the streets. You're an absolute liar if you say that's what you voted for. You're just an uneducated buffoon who, because you find yourself in the situation where the party that you voted for is now doing this, you feel that you have no choice and you have to defend your choice. And that's because in America, both on the red side and on the blue side, once people mess up, they feel that they have no choice. They have to defend their party at all costs, because in America, people see the political party that they voted for as an extension of themselves. Doesn't matter how dumb the party is, doesn't matter how evil the party's policies is, doesn't matter what the party supports, doesn't matter how totally destructive that particular party is. No matter what they're doing, people will always stand up and say, but that's my party and that's my president. And you know what? You have to give them time. They're just starting. They're just getting started. They need to find their feet. People will say anything. And that is why the punishment in America is what it is. I will never stop saying it. This nation is being punished as a sum total of the stiff-neckedness of the population. The population is so stiff-necked that even if you confront them in their faces with the robust mistakes that they have made at the polls, they will never say, it's true, Celestial. I never anticipated all this. I made a mistake. It's only one person per 1,000. It's one person per 5,000 here on this blog who will say, I'm finally convinced that I did make a mistake. You will find people still coming here talking about, well, it was the lesser of the two evils. What did you want me to do? You're going straight to the lake of fire because you're a useless Christian who thinks that you're on earth, that Jesus Christ shed his blood for you to be here doing math of which of the evils is the better evils. Not only can you not read, but you don't belong in Christianity. And I'm not going to insult any other religion and tell you you need to go and join them. You need to get out of the religious space completely. Because if you think you came to Christianity to follow a God who says, I put before you two evils, choose one, then which version of Jesus Christ are you claiming to have received when you supposedly give your life to him? Who educated you in the ways of the cross? Clearly nobody. You're a law unto yourself. You're a God unto yourself. You don't belong in Christianity. And there's a vast majority of people right now who are heavily partisan to the party in power at the moment, to the point that when they hear the common sense baseline median things that I say, then they will claim it sounds liberal to me. No, it sounds educated to you. It's foreign to the mindset that you have to crash and burn and go to Hades with the party that you voted for. That's why it sounds like something that you can't process. It's absolutely not what you voted for. This version of America that we see. It's hurting you as much as it's hurting anyone else. But the rot of pride in you won't let you admit that. And that is how you are going to shut yourself out of the mercy of God. And that is what you get. Because you will end up shut out of the mercy of God, you will have nothing but the abomination of what you voted for. And it's going to come to the point where you choke on it. The people who didn't vote for it are going to choke on it. But the surprise news flash is that you're going to choke on it too. With the bonus that because you can't repent, you are also going to eat the spiritual penalties of what you're proudly boasting that you voted for. America was fighting not to die in the stream. And it wasn't lost on me as I woke up and I was writing and writing, remembering, trying to capture every nuance of what I saw. America was fighting for her life. She was fighting not to die, but the orders that came from the top were more powerful than anything that she could do. It was more powerful than anything that the people could do. And so the people were just so violently pushed back by the military forces. It was unleashed, no holds barred public violence of the sort that we only see in the movies. And that's why I brought up that movie series, Purge Anarchy. There will be, listen to me, especially if you are a woman. Men can handle things differently from us. Men can. But if you are a woman and you are hard of hearing and you keep thinking, this celestial doesn't understand about the pride of the... Listen to me. You need to listen. There's no other Jesus but the Jesus I know who owns this Bible. And that means that the Jesus who owns this Bible is the one who's responsible for all the things in this Bible. And in this Bible, it says that it is better to be a living dog than a dead lion. Jesus is not this gratuitous Rambo character that the rest of you imagine him to be. This is a man who acquiesced to the death of the cross. This is a man, the Bible says, he stood before the Sanhedrin and he was being horribly accused. And the Bible says of him that he was silent as a lamb before the shearers. Everybody knows that sheep don't like being sheared, but especially the baby lambs find it scary. And so when you catch them, they will make all that noise, make all that noise, make all that noise. But then when you bring them to the point where you actually start to shear them, they literally just stand there and tremble because they don't know what's going on. What's all this hair removal? What's all this and that and that? And then after that, they're all skinny and naked. And then when you let them go, that's when they start bopping and skipping again. Because like, wow, I feel great. And I don't know what that was, but it's over now. Silent as a lamb before its shearers. That means that they told egregious lies on Jesus. And if you go and read the trial of Jesus in the Bible before he was crucified, there's nary a one of us who could have stood and watched that many people bear false witness against us and not a peep. You mean we wouldn't have said anything? They spat on him in that meeting. They slapped him multiple times in that meeting. That was not the meeting where he actually said to any of them, I could call legions of angels. He never said that when he was among them. He was their God, their maker, their creator. He didn't say anything. But in America, the version of Jesus that is here always has a strap of bullets across his chest. I really don't know. It could be because he's that blonde guy and that's just what blonde guys do. I don't know. In America, Jesus is wearing 2 AK-47s across his back. And apparently his words on the cross were, bring it on. I've got enough smoke for everybody. This is the version of Jesus that runs in America. So the average American listening to this thing is always ready to, well, they better bring it on because when they bring it on, I will keep it on. And I don't know of what God you are of. I don't know why you can't hear. Of course, I know why you can't hear, because many people in this country are beholden to the spirit of the country that they're in. I've told you that America has a spirit. America has a spirit. The spirit of America is inside the people. That is why the people fight me. That is why the people hate me. That is why the people shout over the voice of God that is coming over out of my mouth. Shut up! Don't prophesy to us. Don't tell us these things. Some infant comes here. You must be so tired bringing bad news all the time. No, I'm just tired of stupid people. That's all. That's all. I mean, there's an upper limit that anyone can take. I'm not tired of bringing the Lord's message. If he gives me the same message 10 times back to back, I can bring it. But to keep meeting people with brains that are open like the top of the Kool-Aid man, you talk to them, everything just comes sloshing out. Therein lies my difficulty. It is trying to prophesy to the people in the grip of a spirit that is determined not to let them go. Isaiah chapter 6, verses 9 and 10 fully explains America. That you will throw these prophecies at the wall and they will only stick to very few walls. The rest are lost cause. because the spirit of the country inside them doesn't want to let them go. And the spirit of the nation inside them doesn't want to die. That's why American patriotism cannot die to allow the will of God to triumph over. An American feels like they're betraying the soil of their nativity if they are to agree with God's punishment. How can I agree with a punishment that says we will be put into darkness and we will be no more? Celestial, isn't there something we can do? Which language should I use to say that there's nothing we can do? This is what Jeremiah went through. The Lord says, surrender to Babylon. We will never surrender. We are Israel. We are Israel strong. MAGA Israel. And Jeremiah is saying, I'm telling you, we surrender. It's the easy way. We put up any resistance. This siege that you guys are doing, this locking of the gates, keeping these people out there. It's the first year. It's the second year. It's the third year. I'm telling you, it's not going to work for us. We can't do that. We've never given in before. We're Israel. What happened? They were stripped naked and marched over those hot desert sands all the way to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was angry. Why are you forcing me to keep my forces engaged in a useless war for 5 years, for 7 years over there? You'll never escape me. Why don't you give in? We are Israel. It's the same thing you are doing. Because you have this same stubborn Babylonian spirit in this nation, compelling the people. So when I'm dreaming, this fighting, this surging, it's the spirit. But even the Christians have this spirit and cannot listen. And you will know you cannot listen because after the video is off, within 24 hours, your little resident demon will come to you and say, we can always pray. That's not Jesus speaking to you. That's your resident demon telling you you never heard of such a thing as God will let a nation go into captivity, which is nonsense because the Bible is filled with captivity. Israel first, again and again and again. If you claim you've never heard of a nation going into captivity, you are a bald-faced liar and the truth is not in you. You've just never heard of this nation of yours going into captivity. And that is why you cannot receive the messages of God. So I saw people fighting in the streets. I saw that people were fighting in the streets to save their lives as a people. But the police beat people with a ferocity that in my heart, I felt like that's what it must be like when they're training the K9 unit of the American Dog Attack Force. The way that you can just imagine two massive German shepherds that have been trained in so many multiple styles for combat. We have war dogs, actual dogs that go on the battlefield with the soldiers. And then we have the K9 unit that are on the street with the cops. And then we have the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA dogs that are working at the airport and things like that. Just imagine dogs that have won certificates. The dog has a certificate. The dog has a passport. The dog has like battle tags. Imagine dogs like that let loose to battle each other. Just imagine if the dogs were taken to this underground, the underground betting place where they let dogs fight. They let roosters fight. That is how it felt to me, where the spirit behind the thing is like, may the best spirit win. It's not about may the best, if the cops are going to win or the people. No, it was spirits clashing. And then you visibly see the outcome on earth. The police were beating people on the jaw with the batons. Were beating people on teeth. That's permanent damage. That's at least $10,000 in reconstructive surgery on your mouth. They were beating people on the jaw. They were beating people on teeth. They were beating people on bone with batons. And I saw the police on multiple occasions batter people with their fists. The police, as the arresting party, was not above the open use of fists against anyone. It didn't matter if it was a woman. It didn't matter if it was an old person. It didn't matter if this was a minor. The method that the authorities used against the crowds were too violent to be legal. There was no question about it. It was too much violence coming from the cops, coming from the soldiers, coming from ICE to be legal. And yet I saw what I was seeing inside the hearts of the government forces was that they felt justified, that they had the right to do that. They absolutely felt that they had the right to be as violent and repressive as they needed to be. And so the public was visibly losing against them. And one of the reasons I can tell you right now that the public is always going to visibly lose against these people is because these people, before they come outside, it's not just coffee and crystal meth that they have at their morning briefing. They receive the kind of pep talk that will unleash them into society as nothing less than deviant forces of darkness. These are not the clones. They haven't brought out the clones yet, because when the clones come out, they're going to beat you to death. They're going to beat citizens to death because they will not know when to stop, because they don't have access to a soul. The words stop, 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 as the voice is getting smaller because life is leaving the body. That's nothing to a clone. Clones don't have ethics. They are only in appearance as man. They're not actually man. Clones have to spend a lot of time in what is known as immersive therapy. Clones need to sit plugged into a computer, plugged into a huge database, many times bigger than Wikipedia. You have to plug them into ChatGPT for a period of at least 2 weeks for a basic functioning clone, to more than that. Because a clone has absolutely no idea what a human being is, how to be a human being, how to act, how to move, how to anything. It looks like one of us, but the inside dashboard, the things that we naturally, when your mom does something at 6 months, there you are, you're giggling like a lunatic. Why? Because you come with the codex that says laugh. This thing is funny. The little boop boop on your nose, it's hilarious. Clone will just lay there like, if you have not plugged that thing in to give it the upgrade cycle, first upgrade, second upgrade, third upgrade, you are working with a blank slate. There's nothing home. So if you make for yourself a bank of 50 clones, 50 male clones, you don't even take them through childhood. You don't start with the embryo. You simply start with the large male body, the large male sleeve. You bring it out, you attach, you break off those things that I said, they're all attached to some kind of two cords, couple of cords on the head that feeds into that big white plasma pod. There's a big white plasma pod on the ceiling, and it has cords coming out into maybe 10 clones like that. And you just come and take the clones out, you break the plasma pods off them, give them a couple of slaps, they wake up, and then you just give them, pretend to eat, pretend to wash, pretend to go to the bathroom, learn to say hello, learn to say goodbye, nod, don't say much. And then you dress them up in the black SWAT uniforms, and you simply send those people out and tell them you respond to violence. So what you do is you take the clones and you plug them into ChatGPT, but you don't tell ChatGPT to tell them all about, human sacrifice and the feelings of man. There's nothing like that. You simply feed them the mode from Matrix. You know how he had the different modes and then he went, I know Kung Fu, like that. You just feed the clones Kung Fu. You feed the clones, beat them. You feed the clones, this is blood. We're looking for this substance. Then when those things come out to monitor riots, it's over. The same way if you see a human dog and then you see the robot dog coming to monitor a protest. I'll take the human dog any day. I'll take the dog that God made any day, because I can pray to God to strike that dog with lightning or to make an angel appear in front of the dog. There's things that can be done with the godly dog, even if the godly dog is trained for attack. There's nothing to do with the robot dog but run, and the robot dog will follow you forever. It will never stop following you once they lock its sights on you as a fleeing suspect. It can wait outside your house for 10 weeks until you come outside, or until the battery dies, whichever one comes first. So this is human beings, but sensitized to wickedness. It's very important for you to understand that. So I saw them hitting bone, hitting teeth, using their fists openly, and they felt justified because they receive messaging from their superiors. Anything is okay. Nothing is off the table. Nothing is wrong. Anything happens, go for blood. That's what they're telling these people. Kristi Noem will never tell you this. That other lipless wonder in the White House, Caroline Levitt, she'll never tell you this. But God is telling you this so that you can walk circumspect as one wise, redeeming the time. Because they felt that they had every right generically to be as violent and repressive as they needed to be, the public was constantly being surprised by the kind of violence that the security forces were bringing to the protest, and they were visibly losing against them. So now I woke up from the dream, just briefly. I woke up from this dream, seeing America definitely losing, and the Lord told me, tell America this: she will not be great again. No matter what she does, no matter what public revolutionaries she raises up as an icon, they will all fail, and this nation will be captured by the government. I will give her over to the beast system, and all the ways of the evil one will be manifested and seen in her. Because she has disengaged from serving me, so she will serve another master, who is the beast. America will never be great. All the icons she's raising up will fall, and the revolution will be a failure. So now the Lord is talking to me as I wake up for briefly, because these dreams are, like I said, they're surging, and there's so much happening that when you wake up, it's almost like a kind of relief from being in the middle of some kind of action sequence that is happening so close to your face, so close to you. If you've never been caught in the middle of people pushing and shoving, but they're not just pushing and shoving like, hey, no. The public is pushing and shoving with so much rage, pent up rage, for what they feel the government is doing to them. And the government has sent its visible arm, its paramilitary and military arm, to show we cannot be moved and you will not stop us. So I wake up, and then God is saying, Celestial, go and tell these people that this movement where they think they're going to reinvent themselves, this movement where they think they're going to prevail against the growth and the upsurge of the beast system and take their country back, go and tell them that it's going to be a failure. And he says something curious, and as he's saying it, I'm seeing something. He's saying, tell them that all the icons that they're raising up, all the icons that are marking the historic moment of America fighting for her freedom, they're going to fall, and the revolution is ultimately going to be a failure. I'm going to give these people over into the beast system and all the ways of the devil. That's who Yah means, the evil ones. All the ways of the evil one will be manifested and seen in her. And I've discussed the ways of the evil one here ad nauseum. The Bible is full of the ways of Satan. When it says in the last days, men will be lovers of themselves. When it says in the last days, the love of many will grow cold. That is talking about the deterioration of the society as a whole. People are not going to want to be able to help you anymore. When I used to come here, and God says that this will be a loveless society, a hateful society where brother will hate brother. Brother will not lend a helping hand to brother. I said, when the end times come, America's going to deteriorate into purge anarchy. Every man for himself. I said, a neighbor who didn't plan before the beast system will come to his other neighbor with a gun and say, I'm sorry, Henry, but I don't have any food in the house. And I know you guys have food here because I know y'all are Christians and y'all been stockpiling stuff. And that man, everything that he's saying, he's standing at your gun at the door, your neighbor of 10 years, but he has a gun. His hand is shaking, but that shaking hand doesn't mean that he won't shoot you. He will shoot you. He will shoot Marie. He will shoot your kids. And everything that's in the house, he's going to go. And him and his wife will come and take it all and take it back to their house. And the police will just come and say, it looks like a robbery. And the police themselves are scared. Because by that time, the Nephilim are out. And the Nephilim come out at like 4 p.m. in winter. Because by 4 p.m. in the United States, it's dark in most places during winter. So the cops are like, oh, well, you know, it looks like a robbery. And they'll just be like, there was a robbery at 22122 this house, and they're gone. They're not going to investigate it. The cops are not going to be on duty that much. I said that 911 is not going to answer your calls. FEMA is not going to answer calls. The emergency services, the EMS services, when there's a heart attack, they're not going to come. And so with that kind of situation, I said that people will be cold-hearted, wicked, loveless. And the backlash I got, no, this is a nation of solidarity. This is a nation that supports one another. And then you see people punching each other in the face during COVID to get the last roll of toilet tissue. And I was like, well, there's the love, I guess. There's the camaraderie. People fighting each other because they go to the bank and they say 6 feet apart. And then when it's time to move forward, one person moves forward too much and he's not standing on his circle. And the person in front is afraid, hey, you're too close to me. Fight. People got knifed in this COVID because the other person was terrified that the other person would give them COVID, and people got killed, people got shot. And God always used to say, wait until pressure comes upon these people. You will see their real nature. You will see their wickedness. You will see that it's every man for himself and the devil take all. So when God was saying the public icons that America is raising up to mark the revolution will fall, you know who I saw? When he was talking to me, I saw the girl from New York City in the polka dot dress. Polka dot ice punching queen. The girl in the polka dot dress that stood in front of the tank and gave them the rude double middle fingers, which is to New Yorkers iconic, because that was the height of telling them, this is what we think of you. That is what the Lord showed me as an iconic moment. I saw this girl in a still frame. People have made so many memes of this girl. She is a cultural phenomenon in the United States. A Latina girl who stood by herself on her way to work or on her way to get her mid-afternoon coffee when ICE came to raid New York City a week ago, and stopped in front of that tank and would not let the tank proceed. And later, when ICE got out of their vehicles and tried to come and grab the vendors on Canal Street, Madam was front and center, using her hip, using her shoulder, fighting with the tall, white, red-headed girl with the mask right next to her, jacking up these men, fighting for American freedom. I saw that girl, and she was used to represent New York. The next thing that the Lord showed me was 3 Latinos in profile. You know, when you have a painting and they paint a man here at the top, then another man here in the middle, then another man here, and they paint them in side profile 1, 2, 3, like that in a diagonal. I saw these people, these 3 Latinos, with their lower faces covered by the same face sock that ICE wears, but they were screaming in defiance with a row of police cars in front of them. And that was the picture God used to represent LA. The next thing God showed me was that man who stood in front of the tank in China in 1989. He's called Tank Man, an iconic moment where the Chinese government was up to something that escapes my mind right now. And the tanks were rolling across Tiananmen Square in China. And that one human being in his white shirt stood to defy those tanks. An iconic moment that has always been celebrated in human history as the defiance of the human spirit trying to stand up for democracy in a country that is clearly not a democratic nation. I saw that, and then God was showing me that all the revolutions around the world share this same thread. People tend to frame their fight for freedom around iconic moments that stand out. Like if a girl stands and extends a flower to men who are in riot police clothes, and then she's handing a flower to a man that clearly represents state authority, state violence, and then she's standing there with this 1960s hippies love movement type of thing, holding a flower, as if to say all hope is not lost. You don't have to be this wicked against the people of your own nation. That kind of thing. God was showing me that whenever revolution starts, people tend to frame, they strongly need iconic moments to attach the fight to. But God was showing me and saying to me that this thing will fail in America, and that America is going to be taken into the beast system, and that we're going to enter such a time of darkness here that people are going to run away from this country like water coming out of a broken vessel. You drop something like a piece of pottery, and it gets, as soon as it touches the floor, it gets that big hunk of broken whatever, and the water just whooshes out like that. America is going to be taken fully captured into the beast system, and will enter such a time of darkness that will make people flee from here. And when they run away, they're going to be watching what happens here in shock and horror that America can ever become the way it's going to become. And so I was sleeping and I was having a dream, but I'm going to tell you what God told me when I woke up from the dream, that I will then explain to you. So you hear that he says the public icons and everything, it's going to be useless. The iconic moments, all the Latinos that were throwing the Molotov cocktails, there are amazing images, still images of them, memes of them driving ICE away, polka dot girl from New York. God says none of that stuff is going to work. We're going into the beast system. We're going into a dark time. The running away from the country will continue. All the people with money are weighing their options, and they're out of here. Especially, in fact, even if you don't have money, if you have children. If you have children and you are still sitting here doing this, Sister Celestial, what should we do? You have to take the first steps. You have to go and get passports for those children. If you are foreign, you have citizen children. I have had this citizen children prophecy on this blog for 3 years. I think that prophecy came out in April of 2022. So it's been here for a long time. It really has. April of 2025 makes it 3 years. So now it's going on being 4 years old. You need to go to the embassy of the country you come from, either mom or dad. You need to stop wasting time. Go to the embassy of where you come from and see what the process is. Even if you have to get a lesser travel document, like a laissez-passer, which means let pass. You have to get something that will allow you to extricate your offspring across these borders, unless they will keep that child as a U.S. citizen, and you're not taking that U.S. citizen anywhere. I know when you naturalized, you never saw this part, but now Jesus loves you, and Jesus is showing you this part, that it is time to get the young one back to Mexico, back to Nicaragua, back to Guinea, back to Burkina Faso, back to wherever, because no matter what is going on in other centers of the world, it's not going to be the theater of disaster and human bloodshed as it's going to be here. And the dream is not over. We are going to continue. So God said to me something about a dream that I had. I'm going to read you what he said, and then I'm going to tell you what the dream was. The Lord woke me up from a dream and said, "Tell them that their naked flesh will be seen in America. They will be naked on international TV. The press will show bare naked flesh on the evening news, and the news around the world will see American nakedness due to how roughly the government forces will handle them. They will drag you until your clothes tear off you, until your blouse tears and the bra comes off, showing the breasts of a woman in public. ICE will drag you until your pullover, that's a sweater, until your pullover comes off, wrestle you until the bra tears and the breasts of a woman will flow free to be seen by all on the internet and around the world. They will break your face. They will break your teeth. They will break your jaw, and there will be no consequences for it." There's a difference if a woman just sits on the internet and tells you No, I just have a feeling that based on what we're seeing on the news, I just have a feeling that it could go there. It could, I feel, judging from what I saw on Fox News last night, and I feel, on the 3 TikToks that I looked at, I think we're going to go there. There's a lot of people doing that in America right now. There's a lot of people doing, I called it, and I just watch them on the internet. There's a lot of people parroting my messages without being honest about why they're saying the things that they're saying. There's a lot of people who have the exact words that they come here and listen to me quietly. Then they go on their channel and they begin to repeat verbatim these messages that trouble my soul so greatly, because they don't have to pay the cost. They're just looking for clicks and they're looking for engagement. Mark my words, mark my words. And I'm looking at them, black, white, whatever. And I know that they're lying, because God didn't tell them anything and it's not their words. They're getting it from here. But there are other people who know how to roll the dice and just read the signs. And they're saying, you know what, from the way things are looking, it looks like any minute now ICE is going to kill someone. It looks like this and that and that. There are people who are accurate simply because they're able to think. But there's something when God is telling you something. Let me tell you something about someone who has all power. Once have I heard it, twice has it been said. All power belongs to God. There's something about someone who has the power to stop anything who doesn't. There's something chilling knowing that God has the power to stop anything. This is God who held up the sea on both sides until his millions of people passed through and no drop was going blip, blip on their heads. Because had they been walking on the dry ground and then God was allowing the sea to be churning and some drops were spraying on them, those people would have had apoplexy. They would have gone into cardiac arrest. Because in the middle of the sea and then there's drops, the water is coming to fall on our head. Black people, they know how to maximize it, to triplicate it and just send it to the moon. We're about to die. All the yelling would have started. He had that water obediently parted. This is something that has never been done before, and nobody can do it except God. So for somebody who has the power, that when Joshua cried out, "Sun, stand still," over, I think it was Ashkelon, when a man can call out, basically, "God, can you not see me chasing my enemies? You are the one who told us never to leave a job undone. I'm chasing these people. I've got some of them, but I haven't got all of them. And the sun is setting. We won't be able to finish this battle if the sun sets. Sun, hold your position." And God is like, "I got you." And the Lord stops the sun so that this man can finish the assignment of killing these half-breed Nephilim people. This is someone with immeasurable power. When someone with immeasurable power comes down to the level of telling you, so if you mess with the government, you're going to need dentures, even though you're 21. If you mess with the government, 5 of them are going to jump on you and stomp you on your spinal cord, and then you're going to be a paraplegic, even though you're 32. If you mess with the government, they're going to punch you in the chest, and you're going to go straight into cardiac arrest because you're 67. There's something very chilling in that. There's a signal being sent in that somewhere that I pray people are understanding. Worst of all, when God, who has infinite power, comes down to the level of a futuristic narrator telling you that there's a possibility for you to be trending on the evening news as the first naked arrested so-and-so. And this has happened before. I'm absolutely positive that this has happened before in arrests of maybe racial profiling, in arrests of uneven power where the cops knew that they had an opportunity and they don't mind sexually assaulting a victim or something like that. But this is different. Because we all know that when we're looking at international protests or anything, and we're watching how even the British government is starting to do this. Even the British cops are starting to violently detain people in ways that just don't line up with how the bobbies work. That's not how they operate. That's not how they work, with excessive force. Those people don't even carry guns. But they're starting to also have this mob-like mentality where they are leaping on Brits 4 and 5, roughly detaining them and things like that. And that's just not their style. When God is telling you that somebody's basically going to drag you to the point that your shirt comes off and your breasts are seen on the news, and as I saw ICE, they didn't care. They will drag you, your clothes will come off. I'm telling you, if you go into that van naked, if you go into that van with everything torn, they will take you to whatever facility, and I promise you, they will process you naked. Your mugshot will be naked. I saw them mocking a man. They had gotten some tall white guy, and his whole front was out. God didn't cover anything. They wrestled that man. I don't know how that man's pants became torn or whatever. When he was arrested, they had him with his arms sharply detained behind him. And you know how they sit you against the car on the floor or something? So you're sitting in an L shape with your back up and your legs straight in front of you. His whole front was out. His pants were torn. ICE made no attempt to cover his modesty. ICE made no attempt to, let's get spare pants or anything. When they were finished, they lifted him up with his arms like that. They lifted him up, dragged him up the back of the car, and marched that man to the detention van, and his everything was out. And he was just like that. And that was caught by news, caught by cell phone footage and things like that. So before the Lord told me this, that ICE will drag you until your top comes up and wrestle you until your bra tears, and they will see the breasts of women. Remember, in the past, I told you that the Lord said that breasts will be seen in this nation as part of the punishment of the United States. Said, Celestial, tell them that their bare breasts will be observed in this nation during the time period of America's judgment. And when I was writing this down, when he was telling me, that is the first thing that came to my mind, not only because of the slavery prophecies where the Lord says that open slave markets will be here in America. They will be auctioning off men, women, and children naked on the auction block, the same way that they did to the African Americans in the past, auctioning them off naked, sometimes auctioning them with clothes. But when the original slaves came, for sure, and the auctions were brand new, they used to put men, women, and children naked on the stand. And you know, sometimes these slave owners are buying the women simply to take them home and rape them to the end of their natural lives. You cannot put, I've always told you that human nakedness excites not only lust, but demons. You cannot put this on display, and cruelty will not follow. And that is exactly what is going to happen. If you are a woman whose clothes tears in ICE custody, these people are going to rape you in the back of that van. There's no cameras in the back of that van. I might as well just tell you now. This is the part I said I didn't need to write down. You watch a woman being put into the van and the blouse has already been torn. Then the van starts to go. There's 5 of them sitting in the back. There's you sitting in the back. The driver is the only person who's not going to enjoy the action. You seeing a man, 5 men sitting there looking at you. What do you think is going to happen to you on that ride to a facility where they're not planning to book you in properly anyway? ICE doesn't book people in to lock up properly. When you are seeing a man standing up and unbuckling his belt, what do you think he's unbuckling it for? For what reason? For what cause? Do you think that that man is unbuckling his belt when you are the only person in the back of a van? What do you think is coming next for that lady? And then which lawsuit? Which lawsuit is going to fix what happens to her? 5 dudes in the back of a van going to an unmarked location where afterwards they will say, oh, Trisha Morgan? Never heard of her. What condition do you think she's going to reach the facility in? They will even sodomize men because I told you this government is made of demons. They're wicked. They don't have a limit. They don't have a place where they can stop. The American government is so less. It's made of human beings. I'm not talking about the undead. I'm not talking about the ones that are not people. I said I'm talking about the humans, the people in the government themselves. I have told you again and again that the sodomizing of men is to break them. And they did this to the African American slaves. They regularly sodomized them if they were insubordinate, if they talked back, if they tried to run away. They would sodomize any man or young man that tried to assert natural male dominance, because I said that it is impossible for a man to accept that you will just step on his neck all day, that you will just call him a dog all day, that you will just talk to him like he's trash all day. The male psyche was not created by God. There's no color of man that was created by God to take that nonsense. No matter how scared a man is, a day is going to come. He's not going to be on his game, and he's going to say or do or show something in his face that will be taken by his white master as defiance. And then they will bring that man down, pull his pants down, and sodomize him. America has a long history of sleeping with men and then still feeling like an alpha male. I don't know where this schizophrenia comes from. You sleep with a man and then you will say, I'm not gay. It's a power tool. They will abuse male and female equally on the way to lockup. There's no need for me to write down such things. I see it. I know what I saw. If they put you, one lady, two ladies, three ladies, in a disheveled state in the back of that van, I don't care if Johnny Cochran, foreigners, Johnny Cochran was one of the best African-American lawyers in African-American or any type of skin color history in the legal halls of fame. Some questioned his methods. They said that he was unorthodox, but you know what? That man knew how to win. I don't care if you raise Johnny Cochran from the dead to defend you. What will happen to you in the back of that van, in that trip? There's no constitutional law. There's no constitutional court. There's no Supreme Court ruling. There's no financial award that will fix what ICE are capable of doing to you in the drive to lockup. That is what I saw. You just see men, they're getting in there, and then one just gets up with that mask. What are you going to say? It was masked man 5. It was masked man 3, masked man 2, and the short fat one. Is that the testimony you are going to give to the court? So then where do we find masked man 5, 2, and the short one? Isn't that the whole of the ICE police force? The only people who have their face out still are the cops. The soldiers are wearing the face mask. The soldiers are wearing the full head bicycle helmet. Where is your help coming from as a female when they catch you? And so you have to ask yourself, to what end are you hearing this? You have to ask yourself, to what end is the Lord speaking in this manner? Why is God speaking to his church in this manner? Why is God sending these warnings? Is it just sensationalism? Is it just to, as some people claim, oh, but it's the obvious, Do these things sound even remotely connected to the operation of the United States as it usually should? Have you ever seen the operation of black sites happening within the country on citizens? Yes, the Lord did say that America has black sites. Excuse the noise, please. I'm not going to stop. The United States does operate black sites. They've been doing this since September 11. But normally, these black sites, they operate in undisclosed locations in the United States against people who are stolen from other countries, against people who America, rightly or wrongly, has accused of intrigue against national security, against the United States, and then goes and steals these people, brings them here by rendition, extraordinary rendition, which is basically stealing people and bringing them to the United States to torture them in unmarked locations that only the CIA or only the CIA and maybe the FBI know about. Sometimes the government doesn't know where the black sites are. But how is it that unmarked, unconstitutionally lacking procedural paramilitary forces like ICE are also running black sites in the United States, taking U.S. citizens and taking people who are not citizens to undisclosed locations where they are able to do anything to them? And Yah is telling us that these people, contrary to what the American public thinks, I see it on TikTok all the time. Oh, the trials are going to be amazing. The trials after this are going to be out of this world. What trials? Who's going to hold trials for you? Who's going to hold these people accountable? What makes you think, judged nation, that you will get the reprieve and the satisfaction of a Nuremberg? Who told you that that's something that God has in mind for you? Who told you that the Lord would allow the beast system to rise to punish you? Then God will punish the beast system for you so that you feel justified, so that you feel vindicated. Oh, they killed my daughter, but at least the perpetrators were brought to justice. The men who sexually abused her in the truck, they were identified. The driver was sickened by what happened, and he snitched, and he gave the names of all of the masked men who were on duty. And at least 5 years later, my daughter is avenged. Who told you something like that is going to happen? The whole point of a judgment is that not only will your daughter sit with that judgment that she suffered in her stomach, but then you, the mom, will sit. You, the dad of that girl, will sit with that thing in your belly as you watch her now slowly going crazy because she's not able to handle what happened to her. She's not able to handle that this country failed to protect her. She's not able to handle that not only did the country fail to protect her, the people elected and chosen and put in particular jobs to protect her are the ones who harmed her. The police harmed her. It'll be the police raping in the cells. It will be ICE raping in the vans. How does a person adjust all that in their brain and continue with life? How do you handle it when the protectors become the harmers, the wicked? This is the reason that the Lord is bringing this information. It is to adjust your mindset. Whenever your mindset is adjusted, you automatically do better. When you know where the parameters are, you will automatically adjust your expectations to fall within them, because those who don't adjust expectations are going to fall into the sea. They're going to fall into the sea, and the sharks are going to eat them. The sharks of disappointment, the sharks of depression. If you're listening to me and the only response you have is depression, allow me to suggest to you that you are wasting your time. Depression is not where it's at. Depression isn't going to get you a single thing. And the other thing it's not going to get you is ready to deal with this life that's coming, that's already here. And so I had a dream before God told me, before I woke up and he told me that naked flesh will be seen on America, that the news are going to pick up, that ICE will arrest people so violently that breasts are going to come out, pants are going to tear, sweaters are going to be pulled up. And I'm telling you, ICE arrested a lady in this dream. The sweater was pulled up. If ICE did not let that woman sit like that, they let her sit like that on the street with her arms behind her back, with her whole breasts out, and they were just standing there and ogling her. They had her sitting like that, and the people around were like, shame, shame, cover her. But they couldn't come and cover her because ICE had her out there for full parade. That lady was sitting with her boobs out, with people filming it. They could have covered her. They made no effort to cover her. She sat outside with the street with her chest out like that. You want to take 5 minutes to think about the mindset of people who can do that? You think they don't have moms? You think they don't have sisters? You think they don't have wives at home? The wife could be watching that very thing, but she's not able to recognize with the mask and everything. She doesn't even know if her husband was there. That man who did that can come home and she can be asking him, did you see what happened today? Did you see what happened today? They had that poor woman. And he would be like, what poor woman? What happened? And he was the chief one who was taking selfies and whatever else. So I had a dream whereby the federal forces of America were dragging people to the riot police trucks and the vans because these people didn't want to walk. So the protest was on, the fight was on, this clash that I keep talking about was on, and then they would catch a few people. And immediately, because you don't want to go to the van, right? If you stand upright, it's very easy for them to hustle you by your 2 arms, and they hustle you to the van. So then people started making their body like dead weight, you know? They just started letting all their weight go, their legs go, everything, to try and fall to the ground, to be very heavy. So they couldn't carry them, but whoever ICE seized, if that person tried that trick of making their body a dead weight to try and avoid getting arrested, I saw that the government forces dragged people on the ground until their clothes tore. They dragged people on, when I say ground, I'm talking about the paved asphalt, the tarred road. They dragged them until their jeans tore. And when the jeans tore until their flesh was in contact, I saw their flesh was being scraped by the tarmac. And the person was screaming because of the pain, that now you're being dragged and the jeans have done their best, but now the jeans material tears and now flesh is being eaten by the road. And the person now goes from just struggling to screaming because they're getting scraped on the road. The cop just kept a straight face, eyes on the truck, and kept dragging the person and didn't turn around to see what had caused the person to become suddenly so agitated or what they were screaming about. But what the person was screaming about is that their flesh was getting scraped by being dragged on the ground until their jeans material tore, and now their actual body was being dragged on the actual road. I saw people's bloody flesh through the hole in their clothes when they finally got them to the capture trucks, and then they dragged them up to stand them up. I also saw seeps of blood on the road where victims had been scraped along. And as I was looking at streaks of blood at the riot scene, I remember what God had said about how American roads will get bloody until they become literal rivers of blood, running with the deaths of people who were killed by their own government. I saw the police literally tear a woman's blouse open, and the buttons popped and went flying everywhere. It had nothing to do with a proper arrest to disrobe a person like that. She was struggling, yes, and she was fighting. But one guy already had her with her arms pinned behind her back. So there was no reason to do that. What part of protesting or demonstrating or lawful arrest is that to catch a woman and pin her and then use two hands to tear her blouse? The officer in front, not the one who was holding her pinned, but the officer in front did indeed do that, tearing the blouse wide open. And then the one standing behind her scooped her under her bare breasts and carried her backward toward the arrest vans, even while the crowd was roaring and trying to get her back. But they could not. The riot police swarmed in front of them to block them, and they couldn't. I saw them dragging people out of their car so violently that their shirt came up and the bra slipped out of placement, so that by the time they finally dragged them out, that person was naked without a shirt. I saw that the woman's clothes, by the time they finally got her out of the car, her clothes had pulled up to around her neck. They sat her on the ground and handcuffed her, and they did not make any attempt to put her clothes back how they should be. Yah said they will cuff them just like that, carry them just like that, mugshot them just like that, with no shirt on a female. And all the outrage in the world will not stop or correct these types of procedural irregularities and the open abuse of power that you will see coming from the American government. So I believe that I have made it quite clear to you what type of chances you're taking when you go out there. You try to engage with ICE, you're standing up for freedom, you're standing up for solidarity, you're standing up for your voice, whatever it is. I'm letting you know, especially if you are a female, that I have already brought a prophecy. It's been over a month here, and it's called The Wolves Are... It's something about the wolves. And then it's called An Occupying Force in America. And that was where I had many different dreams. One of them, I said I saw the female vampire. Another one where God moved me and I was seeing that Hispanic neighborhoods used to be quite wealthy in the past. And then another one, I was seeing Christy Noem speaking to her ICE people and saying, we will find you and everything. Not the one with the food banks. And then another one is where I said I saw these 5 white women and ICE had come to the farm. And ICE previously, I said I had a dream, the wolves are coming, in which ICE was given directives to shoot to kill. And ICE has been killing. ICE is up to about 10 killings now ever since that dream was published. And every single time the government comes out and says our brave ICE agents were attacked. Just watch. When they start raping people in the vans and they start sexually assaulting people, Kristi Noem will come and say our brave ICE agents were being attacked by these women's chests. And they were only trying to defend themselves. And we have no record of this ever happening. ICE already raped someone. And when this woman brought up the fact that she was raped, someone in the power structure arranged for that woman to be deported the next day. Yes, ICE raped a woman. And when the woman made it known to the larger law enforcement body that not only did the ICE officer rape her, but then he carried on, because they always get your phone, he then started sending text messages of his private parts. Text messages of his private parts and suggestive messages to someone that you've groped or you're sexually assaulted already. And when this woman made it public and her lawyer got it to the press, the very next day the woman was deported to the country that she comes from. So of course she wouldn't be able to pursue her court case. It's a different animal that we're dealing with. It's not the one that you know from TV. It's not the one that you know from the legal dramas. So you that think, oh, the day is coming when this government falls, the trials are going to be crazy, the testimony is going to be crazy. There's nothing like that coming. Because for something like that to come means that God has determined a relief for you. That's what it means. It means that God has seen the pain of the people and God has determined in his heart that it's unjust against a righteous people, and he's going to set it straight. He's going to make sure that they will be punished. He's not going to do that. He's going to stand aside and let it escalate. So God is saying that they catch you like that, they dishevel you like that, you're fighting whatever, it comes up, you're going to get cuffed naked, you're going to get taken into custody naked, they're going to mugshot you with your breasts out. Imagine being at the station with men and the sadistic women that they work with, who will not come to say, hey, what are you guys doing? Cover her, this and that. No, the female ICE agents are just as dysfunctional. They're just as weird. They're just as strange. They're just as motherless as the men are. So God says that all the outrage in the world is not going to stop or correct the procedural irregularities and the open abuse of power that we will see coming from the American government. So what I was saying is that America is going to be like something in the lost capsule of time. You know how people, they do, I don't know what it's called. It's called a time something. I think it's called a time capsule, where if you're alive in 1987 or something like that, all of you do a project where you put things in a box that remind you of 1987, maybe the kind of hairspray that everybody's using, the kind of sneakers that everybody's wearing, all the things that are fashionable to the young people of that time. You put them in a box and then you bury them somewhere, and then 20 years later you dig it up and then you look and say, oh, look, they were doing this in the 80s, they were doing this in 1987, class of 1987. It's some kind of cool project that people used to do, but that doesn't happen anymore. So lost capsule of time also delineates that moment when something happens in your life where everything changes. It's like a horrible spinning capsule of time where everything changes, and then it's forever like that. You are forever affected by whatever it is that has hurt you, that has harmed you. You can't go back in time to fix it. You can't undo it. You can't wind back the clock and something like that. And so when something happens to you, for instance, as a female who falls into the hands of these men are repressed. They are carrying too much rage. They are also carrying huge wells, listen to me, minorities, of racial hatred. You don't know what is cooking inside that man. You don't know what he thinks about your race, what he thinks about your gender. So to fall into the hands of somebody who is carrying not only racial hatred, but misogyny as a woman, it doesn't even bear thinking about. They come, it's them against you, and the court system is unable to reach a generous and genuine approximation of justice, and that is because the courts they're already not functioning as they should, then you will start hearing that Christy Nome lady telling you, like I said, our brave ICE agents aren't even attracted to women. They're only attracted to the Constitution and the flag of the United States. They don't even see breasts. They're allergic to breasts. What will you do? What will you do? That time and what it's possible for people to take from you as an individual, male or female, that thing will be lost, forever buried in a capsule of time. So you do not want to come into such situations. So the next thing that God was telling me is that the foreign press, okay, is going to capture incredible abuses of power, law, and order in the United States that is going to put us on the global watch list for repressive states and renegade regimes to watch out for. Did you hear me, please? America's going to go on the watch list of oppressive governments, repressive regimes, the global watch list of renegade dictatorships, more or less, that other people in the world have to watch out for. Nobody will be allowed to come here, and nobody in their right mind will want to come here. We will be locked in with our madness and ourselves. The way that foreign journalists in the hot zones only have the bare minimum of respect, only because they are foreign press. That's why they don't get killed. But everywhere they go in that particular country, they have to take extra precautions to make sure that their country flag or their press credentials or some other kind of identifying mark is on them. That's what's going to be the case in America. Sky News will be here. BBC News will be here. The Indian news will be here. Al Jazeera will be here if they want. But just like when you go to Israel and you have to have press everywhere on you so that they can see that they're not going to falsely accuse you to be a member of Hamas, lie on you, kill you. That's what God says it's going to be like here. That if the journalists want to stay in America, it's going to be like staying in a hot zone country. They're going to have to carry their press pass. They're going to always have to have their foreign documents to show that I'm a British citizen, just so something doesn't happen to them with ICE and stuff like that. Can you imagine this being said about America? And it's not being said by a blogger or a YouTuber. It's being said by the Lord, that this is what is coming for us, that we're going to fall to such a state that we make the watch list that we essentially created of who's a so-called bad hombre, a bad guy. Journalists will have to carry their press badge around at all times, and they will be restricted from going into certain areas where there are things to see that if they saw them, it can make America look bad. Yah says that the international community will be in horror of us here in America, and the nation will be shunned and become a pariah for visible and horrible human rights abuses. And I've been saying it. I've been saying, consider the image that America is giving the international community. Consider what this country must look like. Like I said, you have the people here who they think that they're locked in some kind of battle, either with myself or they're just locked in a battle with so-called perceived liberals, so-called radical left that is their enemy. That no matter what is happening here, they will just say, well, if people would just give them space to let them do their job. You are a fool. Again. Because you actually don't know what the operation of laws in the so-called country that you claim you care so much about. You don't know how the laws of the place operate. You don't know when laws start to be broken in such quick succession that the nation is at risk of falling in on itself, of imploding on itself, of collapsing, because the system of laws are the skeleton that keep a nation strong. The better the laws, stronger the nation. You start breaking strong laws. Do you know what it says about a nation that has strong laws and then is stronger than the laws, strong enough to break those strong laws? It is very hard to fish a nation like that back from the edge. It's very hard to bring a country that has a good democratic structure, a good legal structure, a good educational structure, to get the laws into the brains of the people, to get it into the brains of our experts. You start ignoring all of that, acting like it doesn't exist, bulldozing your way on, following some other agenda that you and a few niche people at the top have cooked up. Where on earth do you think that is going to go? So we're going to come to the point where the international community is disgusted by us and looks upon us as a thing of horror. And the Bible always talks about loathing. I will make you a thing of loathing. I will make you a hissing. It means that people hear about you and they just suck their teeth. They just go. And sometimes in some cultures, they just spit, because that when you see the thing, it's anathema. When you see the thing, it's an abomination. That's what it is. And America will be shunned, rejected for visible and horrible human rights abuses. Thus says the Lord, the thing you could not be, America, you will become. The ills you have condemned in others, everyone will see them in you. America will transform into a crushing beast system, and the people who become trapped inside it will be as one beneath a pressure dome or glass where all the air is slowly being sucked out of the room. And allow me to read to you from Jeremiah chapter 50, from verse 21, and I will just know where to stop generically. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 21. Go up against the land of Merathaim, against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod. Waste and utterly destroy them, says the Lord, and do according to all that I have commanded you. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How the hammer of the whole earth has been cut apart and broken. How Babylon has become a desolation among the nations. I have laid a snare for you. You have indeed been trapped, O Babylon, and you were not aware. You have been found and also caught, because you have contended against the Lord. The Lord has opened his armory and has brought out his weapons of indignation. For this is the work of the Lord God of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. And so you hear the Lord saying that Babylon will be trapped, and Babylon will be caught, and Babylon will be snared. And the whole time she didn't know it. The whole time she didn't see it coming. And he calls Babylon the hammer of the whole earth that will herself be cut apart and broken. And these are the exact words from the prophecy that is called A Changing Global Order, that I gave many different small prophecies in March of 2022. And one of them was that I saw America holding a very big hammer, a very big mallet, very oversized. And I said that she was striking the whole earth. And everywhere she struck was a place that she's gone to have a war. She's gone to have a conflict. She's gone to have her so-called regime change. She's gone to attack the people. She's gone to bomb the people, accuse the people, manipulate in the place. And I said that I saw that as America kept striking and striking, that hammer hit a whole lot more places on earth than America even openly declares. I was watching an ex-CIA agent confess on Instagram, old clip, that America went into Nicaragua and she looked among the people and she saw the different tribes. The U.S. usually exploits tribal differences So the day might come where we look deeper into Rwanda, and then we will see that maybe her hand was there as well. But this man said that they went and they found a group of Indians that all the other tribes just didn't like. They were the violent ones. They were the whatever. And he said that they paid those people off. They gave them more money than that little tribe had ever seen. Obviously, your little jungle tribe, they don't have much use for money. So when you pile it on, it looks like so much to them. And he said they supplied them with arms. They supplied them with food. They supplied them with weapons. They took them into nearby Honduras to train them. And when they were fully trained as mercenaries, they brought them back. And that tribe basically killed almost all the other people. And he said a rough estimate, if he had to guess, just the years that he was involved with what America did in Nicaragua, he said that 6 million people died because of American involvement, but he said that is a conservative number, and he estimates that it's obviously more because they weren't able to track all the dead bodies. In that kind of society where there's tons of people dying in the villages, tons of people dying where they might drag a whole village into the jungle, shoot them there, leave them there. Obviously, the CIA isn't going to know about those bodies, so they will only estimate if they're counting the deaths and the death toll and the casualties in the towns and in the cities. This is the kind of thing that America does. So in 2022, God was showing me that hammer, and the hammer, because America was using it so often, destabilizing, stealing, killing, bombing Iraq, Yemen, Syria, all the different African countries, all the different Latin American countries for decades and decades and decades. I saw that the hammer became hot from overuse. And we all know that metal is easier to mold when it's hot as opposed to when it's cold. So because she kept hitting the earth, you hear God calling her the hammer of the whole earth. This is an old name. God always knew that this country was going to end up like this and act like this and be like this. The hammer became very hot. It turned almost white with overuse. The metal went hot, and then I just saw a huge sword come from heaven and chop America in the arm. And the arm and the hammer fell, and she also fell because of the shock of the blow that she received. And so God says that the thing that America says she can't be, she's going to be. This prophecy is not even close to finished. So take your break if you need to, because I'm still continuing. So now I slept again, and I saw another dream, and I saw this huge billboard in Times Square that was playing my prophecy. Okay, I dreamt that I was in Times Square, and one of the jumbotrons, I looked up and I saw people's watching Master's Voice Prophecy for some message, and judging from the way I looked, it must have been one of my old messages, 2020 or 2021, because I looked different, and I was sitting there with my mantle on my head, reading to America from the past how she would become in the future. But now it was the future, like the things were actually happening, and my prophecy was up on the billboard. So I was telling America back from the past how she would be in the future, except that the future was here, and I saw that the people were very confused. They were chagrined. They didn't know how to take it, because they were all standing around in Times Square listening to the prophecy that was playing in crystal clear volume on some massive jumbotron right in the middle of New York. But for me, I was just stunned, because I was thinking, who put my prophecy up there? And I seriously wanted to take the TV down. I was like, who put my prophecy up there? Who put my video on the jumbotron? And now how am I going to get out of Times Square without all these people seeing that it's me on that TV? And I woke up immediately from that dream in stress, with my mind racing with so many thoughts. And the Lord said that all these things that you are saying will be played at top volume one day in front of this whole country. They will be allowed to look into the past and see that someone was speaking and warning them, but they did not care to listen. They will literally see the past speaking to them about things that they can't do anything about now. Anything that you have said in the past is now manifesting to become the now and the future. I will put you front and center so that they can see there was a warning, there was a reprimand, a clear message and rebuke from God to stop sinning, to turn from their wicked ways. But now it is too late. The message will go viral that they, America, were warned but did not want to repent and did not heed the warning. And I've always told you that the day would come when these prophecies, that every time I uttered them, people had something to say. Every time I uttered them, people were so abusive, telling me to shut my mouth, telling me that I was a false prophet. We can't see any false prophet videos now because there's no way to say that a tank on the street is a false prophecy when the tank is on the street. There's no way to gather in the live streams now, because if you gather in the live streams now, all the people who don't have SNAP benefits will stone you, because all they have to do now is go to the Master's Voice and just go to America in Ruins. That's one prophecy. All you have to do is go and look at the empty basket. That's another prophecy of no American benefits, no WIC, no SNAP, no nothing. You go to the stock in the store. That's another thing. So all the people that they were following, that were whipping them up into a frenzy, and all the live streams and all that, I know God will judge this. There's none of that now, because what can you say when you are broke and hungry and the king is sitting in his palace that also you prayed for and put there? Because the people that you were following, those who know themselves, you went and followed them and prayed, and now you have contributed to the massive hole that is opened up under the nation. So for me, the only thing I wanted to know, I said, God, who put that prophecy on the screen? Who took my video to a place like Times Square and put it there where everybody can see it? How am I supposed to live, God, with that many people seeing my face? And the Lord said, he did. He said, I did. Because there are people who have money in this nation, people who have money in this city, talking about New York City, who do hear, and they believe the gospel. It's nothing to them to take the prophecies of the Master's Voice and put them up into advertising in places like that. The Lord said, you are not the one to tell me what to do with your face or the messages that you have delivered. I will put them everywhere, and then they will know that a prophet was in their midst, but they did not heed the warnings or take the signs seriously until it was too late. And we can just go to Ezekiel chapter 2. I have been here, and I think around about the second year, no, it was the third or the fourth year, I started telling people, if you truly want to understand by what means God has come to snare this nation and capture this nation, then you have to read Ezekiel chapter 2 and chapter 3 to get a better understanding. Ezekiel chapter 2. And he said to me, Son of man, stand on your feet, and I will speak to you. Then the Spirit entered me, and when he spoke to me, and set me on my feet. And I heard him who spoke to me, and he said to me, Son of man, I am sending you to the children of Israel. You can just put America there. It's not only to the house of Israel that is in the Caribbean islands, in Africa, who have heard me, around the world, and of course, the massive nation known as Judah that is here in the United States, along with all the other tribes who are here. It is to the nation of America that the bulk of these prophecies that I've been carrying now, going into 7 years completion, have been. I am sending you to the people, to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that has rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me to this very day. For they are impudent, that means extremely rude, and stubborn children. I am sending you to them, and you shall say to them, Thus says the Lord God. And that is the phrase of the prophet. Thus says the Lord God means that I have the authority to speak for God. It means that I have the right to say that God is saying something. It means that I have the right to teach a thing in God's name, and nobody has the right to counter it or overthrow it. Even though they will do it, they do not have the right to speak over the speech of the Lord. Verse 5, As for them, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are a rebellious house, yet they will know that a prophet has been among them. And you, son of man, do not be afraid of them, nor be afraid of their words. Though briars and thorns are with you, and you dwell among scorpions, do not be afraid of their words, or dismayed by their looks. though they are a rebellious house. This is the third time or fourth time that the Lord has said that these people are rebellious. You shall speak my words to them, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are rebellious. This is the second time that God says, speak what I give you, and it's their business if they hear. It's their business if they reject it, because they are rebellious. But you, son of man, hear what I say to you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I give you. Now when I looked, there was a hand stretched out to me, and behold, a scroll of a book was in it. Then he spread it before me, and there was writing on the inside and on the outside, and written on it were lamentations and mourning and woe. So let's look at chapter 2. Ezekiel says that he hears the voice of one speaking. This is a little bit from chapter 1. The last verse says, so when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one speaking. And this is his encounter with the Lord coming to speak to him. And I've shared in a few places, not that I really like to, about the fact that God is the one who called me to this work. God is the one who told me that you are going to go to many different places in this world, and you are going to be declaring the fullness of my word, and I'm calling you and I'm putting my word in your mouth, and you are not to regard the faces of men, which means you don't care because you see that people hate you. You don't care because people basically verbally spit on you. You don't care because people reject the words that you are saying. In fact, the words are something like a boomerang. When you send the word out and the people send it back to you, the word will go right back to them who it is intended to rest upon them. And indeed, God told me the word will rest upon those who you are sent to give it to, and it shall not be removed from them until it fulfills. Yah told me years and years and years ago, this is after I had been saved maybe about 10 years, that the Lord really started to bring about these things. But even during the 10 years, he always used to tell me that you are my own servant that I have called, and I will set my word in your mouth, and you will go to many nations and you will tell them, thus saith the Lord. And this is only one manifestation of that, because there are so many people from all over the world gathered here who do love God. They have been drawn here because the Spirit of God was already in them. They did receive proper training from their pastors. They did receive proper trainings from their moms and their dads and their grandmas, and they do know the Lord's words. They know the Lord's voice. And immediately they came here, the Holy Spirit witnessed to them to tell them that this is indeed of me, my servant that I've raised up in the earth. But the problem is that the nation that I am raised to speak to is listed 6 times in this chapter alone as rebellious. That means that me aside, appearance aside, speech aside, the nation is incapable of obeying God. It's not about who's sent to the nation. The nation is opposed to God himself. And that's why I always tell people you cannot have any kind of confusion in your mind that America is a Christian nation, or America is a nation that is led to love God, love Jesus Christ. People come here and with a straight face, they say that Donald Trump is a Christian president, which just goes to show you that even if you put a rifle in the mouth of some people in this country and told them to describe what a Christian is, they would end up dead because they don't know. If they think that Donald Trump is a Christian, then everybody who is a true Christian has to be a Hindu, because there's nothing about that man. An American thinks, some, not all, thinks that if a person holds a Bible, that makes them a Christian. If a person uses their mouth and just says, oh, I have Christian beliefs, that makes them a Christian. There are people in this country who don't know that the Bible says you can only identify a Christian by their fruit. You put a man in power who's starving the weakest. You put a man in power who's starving those who need the most help. And then you will say, oh no, he's okay to starve them because they're not actually real people. I heard Fox News, and Fox News say that it's mostly immigrants on SNAP. because you don't have the brains to go and do the basic homework to find out that it's your fellow Americans on Snap who are not earning enough. They do work. Some of them have 2 jobs and they still can't make ends meet. And so they're trying to outsource at least feeding themselves and feeding their children. Then you will come in the broad daylight with the Lord's sun shining upon your empty skull, your head that is just full of juice like the Kool-Aid man. And then you will say, no, Donald Trump is sent by God and he's a righteous man. And that just goes to show that I said, if the barrel of a shotgun was put in your mouth and a cowboy said, tell me what a Christian is or I will pull the trigger, the next thing we're going to see is your brains on the wall because you don't know what a Christian is. Donald Trump is actually what is spoken of in the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, when it says, woe to those who write unrighteous decrees. That means a great, heavy punishment will come upon the heads of those who write laws that make the widow, the orphan, the poor suffer. That is the Bible verse that God put on Donald Trump's head in his first presidency, when he hadn't done anything close to this, because God has always known who he is. I have always known who he is, that there's nothing good in him, that he's a very wicked person, because this is who God sees him as. But every time I would bring the Donald Trump prophecies, people would throw their toys and lose their minds. Why? Because they are rebellious, because they cannot humble themselves to the word of God, because they cannot even accept that God can talk. America cannot even accept that God has a voice, that God can talk, that God has prophets. There are people who have built entire ministries. The only reason they have followers is because I exist on this earth. 90% of their videos are about me, talking absolute oatmeal and nonsense, calling me false. And now all of a sudden, where are they? The trajectory that they used to build themselves up, now it's just plateaued because they don't have anything to make reaction videos from. They don't have anything to talk about now because the country has ended up in a place that none of them could see because they cannot prophesy and because they don't know God. They only know a simulation of God. Simulation is like a false game universe. When you get into a game universe, you can fool people up to a certain point because it's a game, but now it's not a game anymore. Now people are getting shot. Now laws are being broken. Now the country is going into a tyrannical dictatorship. All of a sudden, you can't find a live stream, you can't find a reaction video to save your life because now there's nothing to talk about because now it's real. Now you can be disappeared, just like I said, that you can go missing and your family won't know where you are. Now you can be gang raped in the back of a truck and you will not get justice. You will not get justice if they catch you. Because God says they're operating on a paradigm where they've been told, and they absolutely believe it in their heart, that all types of force are necessary. So God was saying to me in the beginning, that your call will be, the primary of my call is to tell Mystery Babylon that your time has come for you to have the final showdown, first with the beast system, which you're going to lose, and then Jesus will come and judge you again on top of that. The beast system will be the judgment of the United States, and then on top of that, God will come and bring a wrath on this country for what she has done. A double portion. The Bible says in I think it's either in Jeremiah it says it or in Revelation 18, where it says, pour her a cup and mix it double. America is going to get a double portion of judgment. But the Bible says here in Ezekiel 2 that even though you will be in the midst of these people, prophesying to them with my authority, saying, thus says the Lord, these people are rude and stubborn children, and they will not accept it. They will refuse. But he said, whether they refuse it or whether they accept it, which shows that there are a few seed in America that will accept it, but they're not by any stretch of the imagination enough. There's 351 million of us here. So for God to show that he's going to upgrade the method of getting these prophecies to reach people, I guess I will just have to, because he's always told me for a while, for many years, that it would go to a much larger reach. To disseminate means to spread widely. To disseminate is how the gospel really got its legs in the early days. It just went by word of mouth, and it just spread town to town, and people would just believing and believing because the Spirit was moving and working. And God will take his prophecy all over, because he said that the world will see. The message will get out and the whole world will know. So America was told. So America was warned. So it's not like America was just in the dark. So America did have warning. She did have teaching. She did have somebody who the Bible says going out early and striving with them, but they would not hear. I sent my prophets and they went out early to preach to the people, to strive to the people, to no avail. And so God says that it will go viral, that America did get a warning, but she didn't care to heed the warning. She didn't want to listen, and she didn't want to repent. And God is saying that there's people who have the ability to expand, to greatly expand the reach of the Master's Voice prophecies, to really put it in a larger space than I myself would ever be okay with. And I was remembering a dream that I had that I shared here maybe 2 years ago, maybe 2023 or 2024, where I said that I saw myself with these prophecies and I was writing them on the ground, and the ground was so hard and baked, which of course represents the heart of the people. I was writing the message on the ground with a stick, and it was such hard going to carve the messages into this hard rock surface. And then this man came to me and he said, come and write the messages here. And he had a sailboat, and he gave me an ink pen, and he said, come and write the messages here. And he pointed to the sail of the boat. And I said, when I started writing the messages on the sail, because you know the sail is made of cloth, and this ink pen was just flowing across the sail. And because the sail is so tall and so big, I was writing the prophecies from the top of the sail, writing them. And it was so easy going, such smooth going. And so that is just a dream that the Lord showed me in the midst of telling me how America will deteriorate. And then this part now is just things that God told me once I was up. This part, I was awake. The Lord says that America is going to violate international arms and trade rights agreements. So America is going to become, she's already known for it, but she's going to become seen for it. A covenant breaker. America is going to violate the terms of international arms agreements and also international trade rights agreements. She is going to violate the terms and conditions of things she has signed in the past. And when God said that, this word armistice came very strongly to me, and also something about Versailles. But when the Lord put it in my heart, armistice, I saw the word very big. And for some reason, there was a man leaning on the word, which I don't understand. There was a man casually leaning on the word armistice, just like it's written in black. And then he's leaning on the beginning part, the arm part. But then also strongly, the sense of France, and in particular, the city of Versailles came to me, but I didn't understand that part. So when I was writing and capturing the part about the armistice, but I wasn't capturing the part about the Versailles part, because I was thinking, why do I also have this secondary sense of the nation of France, and in particular the city of Versailles? Isn't that where the king was? And maybe that's where the nobles were. But what does this have to do about trade agreements? So that part I wasn't writing yet. And I said, at the time, I did not see how France ties into America militarization. America, I'm carrying on now with what the Lord was saying. After that sense of Versailles and the armistice, America will violate armistice and become a terrorist regime, in that all the things she will do are things that nations have long agreed not to do since the world wars. Since the world wars, where they said certain things are never to happen anymore. And that famous phrase with the World War, the First World War, where they said, never again will the world ever go into a global war. And then they strictly carried on and had the war like less than 30 years later. Since the world wars, where they said certain things are not to happen anymore, the USA will do away with the observance of international laws that govern everyone and will do those very things to the great shock of everybody. America's going to go right back to all the things that are written about in international treaties, that you're not supposed to do certain things. These things are absolutely human rights abuses. These things are absolutely atrocities. These things can never be seen in the world again, because we all agree that these are egregious wickedness against man. God says that America is going to break observing all international laws, and those very things that people say not to do, America is going to do them. So what are some of those things? Well, one of them is this: rules such as prisoners of war must be treated with dignity and respect. They must be clothed. They must be fed. They must be washed. They have to be able to clean themselves. They have to be watered. You can't refuse to give people food or liquid nourishment. And they have to be returned to their home country in a dignified fashion with no horrible atrocities done to them. America is going to do away with all that and treat people horribly to the point that they will be unrecognizable if their families get them back at all. It is not just foreign people the government will do it to. It is their own people who are taken in for search and questioning, arrested for protesting, arrested for being an enemy of the state. America will terrorize them and bring them out in a deplorable state whereby God says they may be fully unrecognizable and unable to carry out life as a functional human being the way they were before they were taken into military custody. So you all know that one of the biggest questions in this world is, why is it when so-called evil demonic Hamas takes Israeli hostages, the hostages come out, it caused a huge uproar in Israel one time when the hostages were being let go. The hostages came and started giving Hamas kiss on the cheeks, right? Because this is what you do when the demon is letting you go after keeping you for a year. You kiss them goodbye and you're patting them on the chest. It was, I think, an older lady who did that. She was patting them like good boys. And then Israel was so enraged that Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said that Hamas threatened the lives of those Israeli hostages and forced them to put on a propaganda display. Very convincing display. She's kissing them on the cheek and she's patting them like, be good boys. And then she's getting into the free the hostages truck. When Israel brings out people, their eyes are missing. They have already killed the people. When Israel is ready to give back hostages, they come back in some kind of blue tarpaulin. They come back in some kind of blue sandwich bags. They smell terrible because they've already been decomposing for a while. They come back with huge amounts of their limbs missing. They come back sometimes with all their organs cleaned out, because you know what? If you're going to torture somebody, you should never let a good kidney go to waste, because a kidney is thousands of dollars on the black market. A good heart, a good liver, these things are good money. If you're going to waste perfectly healthy Muslim body parts, you might as well completely rape the cadaver of everything that it needs, put it on ice, and then just throw the empty body like a skinned sardine into a blue tarp and take it back. They send them back missing their teeth. This is all corpses. I'm talking about the condition that the corpses come back in. Talk less of what the live humans come back in. They come back in catatonic shock. Some of them cannot talk. They cannot articulate what has happened to them. The living ones, what they say, it matches perfectly things that I was talking about in 2021 when I was doing that prophecy redacted information revealed, when I was talking about what America does to its hostages. Will play loud music in their ears until they go insane. Black Sabbath, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, you name it, at massive decibels in the room that the people are at risk of tumbling fully into madness. You cannot listen to that kind of loud music, that kind of screaming, that kind of chords at above recommended decibels You will be unable to hear your own thoughts. You will start to go mad. The hostages, young men who came out, some young men, they were saying that Israel keeps the lights on for 2 to 3 weeks. Bright fluorescence till you lose the ability to tell night and day. You start to go crazy. Israel will wait until they finally fall asleep, will open the door and will throw buckets of freezing cold water on all of them. And they're already in a cold room. AC is on shocking temperatures. Will throw cold water on them. And then they will sit in those wet clothes for days on end. This is the kind of stuff that they do. They subject them to horrible, terrible torture and then return broken shells of people. They sexually abuse them. I said that I have that footage. The case just recently broke. They found the whistleblower. She's a lawyer in Israel who's in the IDF who leaked the footage. And I'm happy to let you know that when they found out who she was, they proceeded to threaten her life and they proceeded to curse her and call her a traitor who has ruined the international name of Israel everywhere. Because why would you leak footage of IDF soldiers gang raping one Palestinian man until he suffered internal rupture to his organs? His organs. Let the men on this video, let that sink in. I will go further. The Israelis allow dogs to rape the Palestinian prisoners. And you know who else does that? The good old US of A. They have uncovered the fact that America purchases dogs. We're here. I'm going to say it because I already covered these things. I have a prophecy called The Captains of Enterprise. And in that prophecy, I had to gag and struggle my way through the fact that God was revealing to me about people and what they do with animals and what they do with dogs in particular. And he was showing me that certain parts of the world, it's not illegal at all. Like, it's not a crime to have sexual relations with animals. In fact, the only thing the law says is that you have to treat the animal humanely while you're sleeping with it. What countries are those? Nordic countries. It's Netherlands in particular. I think that has the red light district or something like that. America has been exposed as having purchased maybe 10,000 of those dogs. The dogs are specially trained in those areas to copulate with humans in a very violent way. Can you explain to me why the US government bought thousands of dogs like that? Now, I didn't say US citizens individually who have a tendency already of sleeping with their pets. I said the government bought those dogs. Who do you think those dogs are for if it's not for the hostages? If it's not for the people that they're bringing here under extraordinary rendition? Do you know what it is to be raped by a man? Then they go and bring a dog to be active on you? That is what Israel does. That is what America does. And you will hear all this and then open your mouth, some of you, to talk about, but other countries. I don't want to hear a thing about other countries because God sent me here for you. He sent me on this internet for you, the nation of the United States. He never said go and prophesy to this or that. I do bring prophecies occasionally about other people. I am here for the USA to show you your sins, that if you will not repent of them, the full gamut of everything that the United States has done will be waiting for you to answer to. Can you imagine? You get to heaven, you already have your own smoking habit and everything else to talk about with Jesus, to beg for your soul. And then he's like, oh yeah, and then there's the collective sins of the nation that you thought you were too good to repent of, because every time she told you that you must repent of national sin, then you said, but I didn't, and I didn't have slaves, and it wasn't me. Dogs on people. That is the state that some people in this world return prisoners in, America included. And now the Lord is bringing it much closer to home. And he said, these types of things, torture, sexual assaults, whether by human or whether by animal, this is what they're going to be doing to those that they call enemies of the state, Who saw the compilation that I did where Donald Trump said the enemy within more than 10 times at 10 different speeches over this 1 year that he's been in power? And in case you didn't know who the enemy within is, it's the radical left. It's the radical left plus those of us who couldn't care either way about the right or the left. We just appear in the eyes of some to care. Overly critical, and so automatically we will also be lumped in with the enemies of the state. This is what Yah is saying. That prisoners of war, they have certain basic rights. Says America is going to completely break away with keeping any type of awareness of international law, and will be torturing people within the borders, foreign and domestic, and returning them in a state whereby they are not recognizable at all. I did mention about the man that was in ICE custody. They caught the man. The man was healthy and alive because he was trying to run away. That man recently died in Colombia, nonverbal. He died in Colombia, nonverbal. He also was put back into his family's custody. By the time they got him back here, they lost track of him for months. And by the time they were able to locate him with the help of a lawyer, because the first 2 American lawyers scammed them, took their money and didn't help them. The third lawyer worked until the man was found. When the man was found, he couldn't see or something like that. He was paralyzed. He can't talk. And eventually he was sent back to his country, to his family. They managed to get him out of the country, and he has since passed away. He died. What happened to that man in American lockup? What happened to that man in ICE custody, that he went from a healthy, normal, trying to flee person who everybody in their right mind tries to run away from ICE? What did ICE do during the time that they held that man, that they could not account for what they did to the man, and the man died? Basically, full body paralysis. As if we don't know this country and its experimentation ways, its eugenic ways, its massacring ways, its murdering ways, its we will deal with the lesser races ways. What happened to that man in official custody that it cannot be accounted for, that he lost all his bodily mobility? He lost his power of speech. What do you do to a person that they can't talk anymore? So God says that America will terrorize people who are taken for search, taken for questioning, arrested for protesting, and arrested for being an enemy of the state, and bring them out in a deplorable state whereby they may not be fully recognizable, and they may not be able to carry out life as a functional human being anymore the way they could before they entered military custody. Yah says America will violate arms agreements, trade agreements, and break human rights laws so much that she will become a North Korea designate. The international community will list the United States like North Korea, putting her on the international terrorist list and list of human rights abusers that everybody knows and is afraid of. America will even get removed from the UN Security Council as an uncooperative, unsafe, dangerous human rights abuser, and a totally evil environment for human beings and the international community as a whole. Let that sink in. Let's just take a moment and let that sink in. So, uncooperative can no longer hold to arms treaties. If America doesn't hold to arms treaties, then that means nuclear options are not off the table anymore. They're fully on the table, and someone is shaking salt and pepper over them, about to scoop them up. They always talk about the president as having, every time Donald Trump is on the news and someone is talking, we've presented the president with a full menu of options, and we've given him a full menu of options. So a country that will not follow international arms conventions, whatever those are, I don't pretend to know what they are, but whatever they are, we are now living in the country where God says this country has run its mouth on dead Gaddafi, dead Osama, and dead Saddam so much, lying on those people for all she is worth. They were dictators. They had nukes. They had dragons living underneath the gold throne of Saddam that they would have used against the American people. We had to kill them. And now the Lord has come to set the record straight that the people who can't keep a law to save their life, the people who can't obey international norms to save their life, are the ones who always had the stories about everyone else. If you violate arms agreements, doesn't it mean that you will just start nuking people everywhere, provoking everywhere? But wasn't I saying this in 2021? That there is not a conflict flying by that America will not lift and put her hand in it and say, no, I want a piece of that. I want to get involved. Let me just grab that and bring it home. To the point that the prophecies that I was bringing here, Yah said, Canada, Mexico, if you are not careful, America is going to get you dragged into international wars because of how many conflicts she will be started. Now we're sitting here and Americans are getting, Fox News watchers, they're justifying themselves getting worked up, and liberals included. Across the board, they're getting ready to now go across the border to go and fight Venezuela in nothing more than precious metals and a free oil grab under the guise of fighting the drug trade. Imagine the drug mafia barons saying that they're going to another country to fight the drug trade because we have to keep the bad drugs out of the borders, where every person in this nation is a weed gummy taker, is a weed puffer, is a nootropics puffer. I don't know if they puff nootropics. I don't know what nootropics are. I just know you shouldn't be taking them. Psychedelic mushroom eater. Psychedelic mushroom tea drinker. I don't know if they come in teas, but if they do, we have it because we have legalized weed shops every 3 steps here in New York City. If it can be puffed, if it can be sniffed, if it can be injected, if it can be rubbed into your left eye and then you get the high, this country is filled with druggies. And then it's this nation that is going to police drugs. Cocaína in the Spanish, make it make sense. Someone. Because these are the lies that America puts forward, and then everyone will look and say, America's defending freedom and America's defending her borders. Which part of your border goes all the way to Venezuela? Which part? Which part of your border is in Trinidad? Because they don't have sense. That's why they're giving you airspace. That's why they're letting you sit in the waters. Then when they get themselves bombed, then it's this channel they will come to. You don't understand. I'm a proud Trini. If you're a proud Trini, why are you not petitioning your government that your government must have sense? It's America's shenanigans that you're going to allow yourself to get in the middle of. Then when Venezuela bombs you, then you want who to feel sorry for you? Same with Guyana. You want to host America in her ceaseless imperialism. And then when Russia and China join the chat, because they also want to protect the markets. When Putin wants something, he comes and he has a conversation. We see that you have this and we have that. And then you see little papers are signed and little handshakes are shaken. When America wants something, 500,000 people dead in only 2 years. And then BlackRock will set up 22 factories. And then before you know it, she has another satellite country like a crab. She's eaten everything from the crab. Then she wears the skin of the country. And then she says, we came to give this nation freedom. You haven't learned enough from history. Trinidad, Guyana. Then you want to come to this blog and start telling me you don't understand the political. It's you who doesn't understand that whoever plays with America when she is getting bombed, you will get some. You will get your share. Because who deals with the merchant of death? When that merchant of death is on God's death list, there's enough for you too. Since there's no wisdom with you, outcomes shall be outcomes. That is how this world works. You cannot be a little roach, a little fly, a tiny little thing of a country. You already have your own judgment on your head for being wicked and half naked in Trinidad. Then you want to get yourself involved in high level, high stakes oil arguments. Then what do you think will happen? America will break human rights laws so much that she will be designated like North Korea. You that have the Columbia degree, you went to Columbia School of Economics, Harvard School of Business. What do you have to say? After you have had module after module, this is how regimes arise. This is how democracy dies. This is what makes America so different. Then the professor is sitting there and he's sitting at the desk and you're all like, I can't believe I'm being taught by the great so-and-so. You're writing your notes in a daze of hero worship as you hear that North Korea are savages. Idi Amin was a savage. Thomas Sankara was another savage. Kwame Nkrumah, one of the greatest savages. Che Guevara, a savage. Fidel Castro, another savage. Then God is like, at the bottom, George Bush, Obama, Clinton, Trump, America, the greatest savage of them all. Then what do you have to say? Human rights abuses. You're watching it on TV and some among us, that's my president. This wouldn't happen if they would let them do their jobs. Which part of their job includes groping and sexual assault? Which part of their job includes using a riot baton on an old man's clavicle? Striking someone at the back of the head, firing a pepper ball directly into the face of a priest. At your school that you went to, obviously with barnyard animals, which module told you that this is how laws are executed in a democratic republic? Name your teacher, name your school. I'm trying to see something. I'm asking for a friend. At what point can a nation come full circle to become listed with one of her greatest nemesis? I'll tell you at what points. A people who are righteous, a people who please God, the Spirit of the Lord will dwell within the borders of that nation. But all nations who hate God shall be turned into hell. North Korean people can't do anything. North Korean people only watch North Korean TV. They've never seen Miss Rachel in their life. They don't have access to CNN, BBC, Sky, nothing. They watch state news that tells them, in today's breaking news, we have opened another nuclear silo. This one can reach Los Angeles in 30 minutes with a stopover in Miami. Then they all go. That's what they're doing in North Korea. They don't watch TV. They don't see ads. They only see what the state allows them to see via propaganda. They can't travel. They can't leave the country. South Korea is right there. They can't go and see their relatives. They're living inside what God has called here. Let me read it for you, because when he described it, it was so clear. He was talking about how the nation will be like something under an iron dome, a pressure dome. America will transform into a crushing beast system. And the people who become trapped inside it, this is everybody who doesn't manage to leave. By the time this thing, you've seen how many flights have been canceled. Over 4,000, I think they've canceled 4,000 flights, projecting forward into this month of November, because the air traffic controllers can't work. Word is coming out that UPS flight, the reason it crashed was because of double engine failures. That means that the engineers on the ground were either not available to do proper flight checks, which is something that I talked about in 2024, that some of these flights will be because that the engineers will miss simple things. I didn't know it was going to be because they were stressed out and fired and they don't have money to pay their bills. I just said that they're going to miss simple things on the wind, on the wings, on the engines, on the door, on the safety checks. And that's how some of these accidents are going to happen. Double engine failure. So you mean nobody looked at both of them? Because that fireball of that UPS plane was huge. Whoever is stuck in the country when travel is finally put off the market for good, God says it's going to be like they're living under a pressure dome or pressure glass where all the air is slowly being sucked out of the room. That's how it's going to feel every morning you wake up and you find, good morning, citizens. Cash is now illegal. I repeat, cash is now illegal. You have 48 hours to deposit what you have. All cash after 48 hours becomes trash. You might as well burn it. It will no longer be legal currency in the United Federalist States of America. Then what? So, God says that America will become a North Korea designate. To be designated means that you get your categorization to be something or like something. The international community will list the USA like North Korea, putting her on the international terrorist. You know something? I can't even understand what I'm reading here. The international terrorist list. The international terrorist list. Who's on that list besides North Korea and Iran? The irony is so thick. I should have sat with this prophecy a little longer, because it's what I'm reading is surreal. You mean the Iran and the North Korea that America has talked about all my life, all your life, some of you? That's where she's ending up? Do you see God in action? The nations are turned into hell. And those who forget God. That's the only scripture sitting on my heart like a stone right now. The nations are turned into hell. You will become an open air, sunshine having, rainfall having hell. An open hell. The nation that departs from God. The nation that forgets God. America will be put on the international terrorist list. She will be put on the list of human rights abusers that everybody knows and is scared of. America will be removed from the UN Security Council. Isn't that where the seat of her power is, in the UN? Always lifting up that crusted, scaly arm to overturn, to veto. No, 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 no. Then the other people kick you out. Removed from the UN Security Council as an uncooperative, unsafe, dangerous human rights abuser and a totally evil environment for human beings and the international community as a whole. A pariah, rejected, cast off, cast away, put out of the community. Then when I would say in 2020, America will be dismissed from the register of nations. Everyone is looking at me. How do you dismiss the boss? How can you tell the boss to leave? When the boss becomes a killer, when people come out of the boss's hands and they can't speak anymore, when they can only blink their eyes to say yes or no for food, but they went into the boss's hand, a functioning human being. That's how people put you out of the room, when they get tired of you for being the snake you've always been, but now you've taken off the cloak. Now all the visa applications will stop. People will finally hear me. You come here, they'll beat you on your head with your Nigerian accent, whack you in the middle of Times Square. The minute they hear your mouth, they'll start asking you, were you born in this country? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Off the UN Security Council. That is a huge demotion. That is a huge, visible demotion. A casting down, a slide to the bottom. People will flee from America, and the ones who will be having their rights abused will be those who stay behind. It will be a closed nation, an iron wall nation with no travel allowed outside unless proved necessary. You have to have a high enough tier for business or for study. You also have to prove your case that study abroad will make the nation safer and better, and your degree will be an asset, or that your business deal will make the state richer, safer, and better in some way. This is North Korea right here. This is China. China does this. China did this for a long time before China finally figured out, letting some of the business people go out and start businesses in other countries is not a bad thing. We can't stay closed off forever. We can't do one child forever. We have to start integrating. And so a lot of Chinese people, maybe not everyone, I won't extend it to that, but a lot of Chinese people who own businesses, the businesses function through the state. The state has to have some kind of oversight. The state has to be able to see your books. Even the capitalism that they practice, it is a limited form of capitalism. China actually has many different forms of government functioning within one set of borders. And the way they do it is where they need to be socialist. They're socialist. That's why China has some of the best amenities in the world. Chinese people, when they get old, I'm starting to see that the government is working to put, you know, the lifts, the elevator to take the older person upstairs to go to bed and then downstairs to have breakfast in their little wheelchair. Can you imagine? Only the richest, and I'm talking about the top 1% of the 1%, have those elevators in their home. But China has figured out a way to make that thing mass produced so that, you know, as mom and dad are getting old, they don't automatically have to go to a home. I don't even know if China does homes. If they do, you've seen with my China compilation that they have that amazing bed that they'll attach the bed to the place where the patient is, and the other bed is able to roll the patient. The nurse doesn't have to do anything. The bed rolls the person to the other bed. I've even seen them using it for a pregnant lady. I was watching a YouTube video where the lady gave birth and the bed just came and rolled the lady neatly after giving birth into the movable one. The second bed is movable. And then they carried her to the ward for moms to be with the babies. China is finding a way that where it comes to socialism, floating levitational trains, when they put the benches outside, you know, the simple bench that you sit with in the malls and everything, the benches have key chargers, QI, the wireless charger. So you can go shopping and then you're tired and your phone is on 1%. And you can put your phone down on a public China bench and charge it free. They have heating lamps to keep public places warmer outdoors. Most countries can afford to have 1 or 2 heating lamps inside the mall to keep the mall warm. But China has cash like that they're heating outside. And they're clearly working on a way to expand their grid so that even when a shepherd is minding his goat, he can be minding his goat at the top of the mountain under a heating lamp, charging his phone on a rock. They have found a way to juxtapose some socialist things with capitalism, whereby when it comes to venture capital, when it comes to investment, when it comes to partnering with other companies that are foreign, allowing foreign investment in, they're fully immersed in that as well, in the area where it works. But they're not allowing it to overthrow their country, that they're not able to provide basic goods for the poor and to try and spread it as much as possible. Nobody said that they're perfect. No country is perfect. But then again, if you look at a country that's much older than America, and even the American economists can admit that that country has been minding its business for the whole 4,000 years that's been living. And this one that is not even 400 years old has basically gone and fought and killed everybody everywhere. Then an argument needs to be made that there's a liar in the room, and somehow the liar is not China. It's just not. So God says that people are going to run away from America. This you've been hearing for years. If you're not even considering it, you have a problem. The people who stay behind will be the ones who will have their rights abused. America will become a closed nation, an iron wall nation. This is North Korea exactly. This is North Korea still hasn't opened up. I don't even think, maybe Iran also hasn't opened up. I'm not sure. But an iron wall nation basically means that the government will seal off the people from the outside world. Just like I was saying, North Korean people get North Korean propaganda news. In case you're not up to date, the White House is busy putting out a series of tweets featuring only blonde white men. You have to love it. You absolutely have to love it. They're starting to put out these tweets that look like 1960s arts, like home, homeland, hearth, strength, the America we knew. Then they will have a picture of the settlers with the wagons No Indians, because of course when Americans came here, the country was empty and there was just a card that said, welcome. Nobody was here. No wars were fought. No genocides happened. And so that's what the State Department, the highest office in the land, is putting out propaganda art featuring only one type of human being and putting out the messaging that America is just that type of human being to the exclusion of everybody else. This is a tacit way of saying, don't worry, we're working on getting the nation to look like what's in the pictures. Give us some time. We'll clean it up. When you step outside, everywhere you look, it will look like hearth, heart, homeland. Outside will match the pictures. Nobody else. There's no other type of demographic in these pictures. There's no Asian people, no black people, no American Indians, no Spanish people, nothing. It's just white people. And they just keep tweeting it over and over and over. And this is a very bold move. This is a very bold move that doesn't need interpretation, and that cannot be taken any other way except the way that it is meant. It can't be taken in any other way except the way it looks, except the way it's meant, except the way it's coming out of the mouths of people like Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth and President Donald Trump. They're not biting their words. So that means that nobody at the lower level, like the comment section level, can arise and say, no, it's not like that. You're reading it wrong. It's impossible to read it wrong because it's coming out right from their mouths. So get an idea from that. When it says those who stay will have their rights abused, it will include what's in those DHS and official White House tweets. So an iron wall nation, a nation sealed off, a nation watching only American propaganda, a nation consuming only what is put before it, whether it's by force or whether it's joyfully, because there are those in this country who will consume that type of thing joyfully. If not, certain people would not be able to find the massive audiences that they have on the internet. And God is saying here that nobody's going to be able to travel outside the country until you can prove why you want to travel. If you're going to study, you have to prove how your degree will improve the United States. You have to show how your degree will make America better, make America safer, make America more blessed, because you went to study whatever it is that you went to study. You have to show how your degree will be a state asset. And if you're going to do a business deal, you want to travel for business, something like that, you have to show how your deal is going to enrich the state. What does the state get when it allows you to go and partner with Coca-Cola outside? What can you bring from outside that we already don't have in America? And as I was writing this down, as I was listening to the Lord, I was realizing that this is a very high bar to meet. I don't know if you know that, because America has some of the most iconic universities in the world that soon other normal people will no longer want to come to, because they will not want to descend into the maelstrom, into the belly of hell. They will stop coming here. But how are you going to tell the government that you want to go and study in Paris? What will you justify? If you want to go to a liberal arts university, is here. You want to go to a conservative college, is here. You want to go to a Christian college, is here. You want to go to a technical college, is here. You want to go to a naval college, it's here. You want to join the army, it's here. How are you going to justify getting out of the country? Do you see? What kind of business deal could you possibly conceive of that will enrich America? America has all the industries here. Everything is here. What business do you want to go outside? You say you want to do a tech deal. The government will say, go to California. Oh, wait, well, before it falls into the sea. But go to California. Silicon Valley is there. All the tech bros are there. Okay, I want to study finance. That's what we have Wall Street for. How are you going to justify to this government that you want to get out of the country? Do you hear the World War II espionage steps that you will have to take to get out of this place when they close it? Can you conceive of the government telling you that you can't leave until you can give a compelling reason for leaving? Then you say, well, I'm part Portuguese. My father is in Portugal. He's sick. Then they say, You're telling us that you're a disloyal migrant? You may leave. Then you leave, and the next thing you get an official email that says, congratulations, you've been stripped of your citizenship. You are now an enemy of the state. We've repossessed everything that you own. You're no longer an American citizen. Only American citizens are allowed to hold assets within America. Your bank account is frozen. All your cards are canceled. And in fact, we're going to marry off your wife to one of the people in government. Enjoy your time in Portugal, Portuguese citizen. People will use the travel visa to escape, of course. How Nazi Germany is this? The answer is yes. How Nazi Germany do you want this to be? The answer is yes. People will use the travel visa to escape, of course. This is the Lord. I'm just writing. Which will make the government crack down even harder on granting travel merits, whereby a person can travel away. You can travel within, but away. Because of the escapees, the bar will get even higher to justify why should you be allowed to travel, because now the government knows. You know how conversely right now what America does is limit the visas to come in, because how do we know that you're not trying to escape in and stay? But now it will be like, how do we know you're not trying to escape out and stay away? After all, this is their reasoning. After all, your family and everything else that you love is here. So how can you leave them and run away? America will be like North Korea and worse than North Korea. This is the end of the prophecy. I'm sure as you have been listening, you realize that it's quite a journey from where we started, looking at protests, looking at the upheaval of the American landscape, how this thing of the peaceful protest, the organized protest, is going to become seriously so violent and so desperate. And that is going to be brought on by something that's going to happen here in America that will signal, it will send a signal light to the American people that you're at the last bus stop. The bus stop after this is camps. Whatever it is to send people into the street to become as desperate, as violent, as aggressive, as loud. America was basically screaming. America was roaring, actively demonstrating. And when the police came out to stop her, she fought for her life and she lost, because they came out with an aggression unseen and unheard of. And we're already seeing quite a bit of aggression already. But what the cops, what the military apparatus had waiting for those people when they came out into the street, like, no, the people came out into the street like, this is unacceptable. Like, this is where we get off. This is where you stop the ride. This is where we draw the line. I said that what I saw, people could not accept that and still say that they were American citizens. It was too much, whatever it is. And yet the government won. And then we go into an examination of exactly how the government won, what they were willing to do, to the point of nudity and shaming citizens, to the point of sexual assault that will not be prosecuted. And then we come into the Lord saying in the midst of all that, oh, by the way, as all of this is happening and the nation is basically burning itself down with despair at seeing itself lose the thing that Americans prize the most, freedom. By the way, I'm going to be raising high the flag that I was here all along. The Lord of hosts speaking to a nation too rebellious to hear me, raising my child. You're not the one, Celestial, to tell me what to do with your face. You're not the one what to tell me. You're not the one to tell me what to do with these messages. Raising it up so more people can see. Raising it up so the foreign community can see. Wait, this had a narrator all along? There was a narrator. There was a James Earl Jones. There was a Morgan Freeman narrating the story of America all along. And she was saying it wasn't true. And then immediately, what does the Lord do? Jump back into the narrative. telling us that America is now going to be a covenant breaker. America is going to break away from international norms. America is going to break away from normal domestic norms. Her own laws she can't keep. Why would she keep the international laws? She's going to break trade agreements. She's going to break arms agreements, making her dangerous. North Korea breaks arms agreements. They're always nuclear testing. They're always firing something off over there into the sea. Every day, North Korea appears to have done another test. They don't care. They're already the black sheep. They're already the bad child. But now America, the golden girl, is about to join them in that corner. Breaking arms deals, obviously becoming a danger to everyone in the region because America has a lot of nukes. America has a lot of nuclear weapons. And a country that can't adhere to international laws around nuclear weapons is automatically a threat. It doesn't matter how she's been perceived up to now. If she can't keep law and order at home and she can't keep law and order at the UN, she's a threat to everybody. And then God saying the unthinkable, you'll get kicked off the Security Council. Then what? Then she becomes an iron dome. Nobody comes in, nobody gets out. The press having to identify themselves at every minute so that they don't get picked up and treated like a Hamas prisoner, like a Palestinian. Encounter a dog. Encounter worse, a man who's pretending not to be gay in lockup. The press being kept away from certain areas, exactly what America claimed Iran did. Exactly what Israel did do. Every time they went over to Israel and America demanding, we need to see all your nuclear facilities. Israel went so far as to build a hidden section where they put all the stuff that they were working on, and then they built a false facility and took America there. When they say scam artists, for real. Scam International, Scam Central. That's the 1948 state of Israel. America now the one keeping people away from designated areas, not allowing the press to report certain things because it doesn't want to be perceived a certain way. But that will be inevitable. The world will see, Yah says. The world will know the truth. This prophecy is telling America that the lie is dead and that everybody's going to see what I've always been saying, that people in this country have fought to no avail because God is now going to flip it up to a higher level where other people will have an independent bird's eye view. And I won't need to say anything because they'll be able to see us doing it on TV for themselves. Finally ends with what? Put out of the international community like a pariah, uncooperative, dangerous, and unsafe for the people living in the country and for the international community. Until the people are on the inside, facing long-winded, tricky interviews, explaining themselves as they try to run away, pretending that they're going to study or do business. America will be like North Korea and worse than North Korea. What a way to end a message. What a way to end the message. Worse than North Korea. So that means that there always was an empty seat. North Korea has always been the last letter, the letter Z, the worst of the worst, according to Washington. And then God is like, no, there's a seat right there. That's yours. From A past Z to unknown sigma, unknown Greek letter something, unknown infinity symbol, infinitely worse than North Korea. I'm Celestial and this is the Master's Voice. The prophecy that you have been listening to is called The Beast System is in Effect Part 2, Observing a Nation's Decline into Tyranny. The date I received it, Saturday, November the 8th, 2025. God bless you. Thank you for listening to the message. Stay strong. Stay rooted in the Word of God. Keep your eyes on Jesus Christ. Always keep it kingdom. Separate yourself from the harlot, Mystery Babylon. And until I see you, God bless you and goodbye.